Good evening, everybody. It's Industries of Titan today. So my original plan um, for doing Titan last week kind of fell apart. The original reason for doing Industries of Titan in last week was to try and get a little bit closer to the ending, to the victory. And it's so very clear I didn't. um, but I don't know. It's a fun game to play anyway. But there's been some updates to the game, and we'll as usual go over the patch notes and the update video. And it actually looks like there's going to be sort of a similar update pace to Phantom Brigade, which for me, will make things a little bit easier in terms of just kind of getting through some things. Although I'm noticing, so I actually took a little bit of a peek at the notes ahead of time, and it actually looks like there's some updates that will work really well for this broadcast, which I'm quite excited about. But as usual, whenever there's a Titan Tuesday, so I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday usually, so Titan Tuesday isn't really a thing for this channel, but the following Wednesday from Titan Tuesday, we go over the update, which also means doing the patch notes, and this one will be no exception. However, I did forget to check. To see whether or not I was tagged properly. Yes, we do have the Industries of Titan tag. So we're gonna load up the Brace Yourself site, and we're gonna watch some movies, and then we're gonna play the game.
Hi founders, this is Demi, Junior
Hello,
Community
Demi.
Manager on Industries of Titan. This update is bringing you more paths to success through a revamped victory condition system, all new starting bonuses, and more. Let's take a look. The Council has drawn up some victory contracts outlining specific goals for you to focus on, as well as the order in which they should be completed. In summary, victory points are now arranged in a tier list by corporate goal. Higher tiers grant you more points towards your victory score. Upon victory, your performance will be graded in bronze, silver, or gold, awarding you 1, 2, or 3 trophies respectively. The Council hopes this extra incentive motivates you to be even more productive. Upon the creation of a new city corporation, founders will be able to select from one of 4 starting bonuses if they so choose, with more options to come in the future. These bonuses will provide unique and powerful advantages towards certain goals, but, as with everything in life, they will not come without their own respective drawbacks. Dr. Braxton Dawes' latest weather reports indicate you may experience the constant presence of wind here on Titan, though its strength will vary over time. Because of this, you will find that any pollution in the air will be pushed in the direction that the wind blows. These exciting new updates, as well as the usual bug fixes and optimizations, will arrive for all players on Titan Tuesday, July 5th, 2022. You can always find updates from us on the first Tuesday of each month. Thanks for watching, Founder!
Right. So you'll notice that there's also quite a bit that, hey, that's my video. There's quite a bit that's kind of been trimmed from the roadmap. And for those of you who didn't see it in the previous video, it's because this game is actually going to be, it's pretty much in its final stretch for a 1.0 release. And it's fair to say, so you could look at something like that and see, oh my goodness, so much that was interesting about this game got cut. That's really not what's happened here. There are a couple of things that I maybe personally would have liked to have seen that I don't think are going to be coming into the game anymore. But what really does interest me, and I appreciate that, like Brace Yourself took the time to sort of write out their reasoning on these things. They kind of articulated what the goal for the game was and how essentially they could achieve the same thing by kind of combining a few concepts. And so, for instance, I think there had long been the intention for there to be more factions other than the Landfallers. And as somebody who kind of likes the story for this game, you know, the lore, the codex entries and such, obviously having more factions and having more about this struggle for this, you know, this valuable resource. I mean, this is the sort of stuff, you know, all of the really popular science fiction stories. Well, not all of them, but like a lot of really popular science fiction have really kind of come out of this, right? Battle on a planet for this really precious resource. I'm thinking specifically of Dune right now, although clearly there's plenty of other examples of that. So, in one sense, you can sit down and say, "Oh my goodness, what a shame it is that this thing was cut out." And yet, when I think about the number of things that will, be enabled by the introduction of this starting bonus system, that I was kind of expecting to see later, to be honest. You can actually see quite a bit of variety being introduced. And again, I always like to try and think of news like that, not just in terms of, what I get, but I also kind of like to think of it in terms of trade-offs, because whether or not I realize them myself, there is ultimately, that one feature that I just want to see so much, right, is something that is going to take up time. And if that means that something that really could have made the game sing doesn't get implemented, even if I don't know it, I'm actually worse off. And so in that sense, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to take the time to highlight that update, just because for me, it sort of helped me understand exactly why things were happening the way that they were. Although, as you all know, I'm kind of already very favorably disposed towards Brace Yourself. So, like, in my case, I have a certain amount of trust kind of to start off with. Incidentally, this is actually, so because I'm also kind of talking, it feels like I'm sort of doing an apologia for the way Titan's going to be changing for the next little while. It is, of course, worth mentioning here that I will be playing a copy of Industries of Titan that was given to me for promotional purposes from Brace Yourself Games. Again, it's been a couple of years at this point, so I'm pretty sure it's more than 1 year. At the very least, it's been a year, but I'm pretty sure we're coming on to 2 now. They've been, they're an absolutely wonderful company. They're one that I'm super stoked to see new stuff from. But you always want to make sure that you get the disclosures out of the way. Tikri, great to see you. We just did the video for the update, but we will be going through. The only thing you'll be missing is Demi, the junior community manager at Brace Yourself's voiceover. So I will do my best to give equivalent delivery or equivalent quality of delivery, let's say. But yeah, it does also give me a chance to just mention that for those of you who are also fans of this great Canadian developer, Crypt of the Necrodancer has gotten its first update in 5 years a little while ago. I think they've added another reasonably sized update. I seem to remember seeing something in my Steam downloads. And I quite liked it. I didn't spend a lot of time in Necrodancer. Admittedly, I've still not finished the 4th stage of that game. But definitely, just in terms of some some touch-ups to make it a little bit nicer to run, there are a couple of little things that didn't exactly stop me from playing, but they were like just that little thing where I'm like, I wish it wasn't like this. And they were dealt with. So I was happy to have another excuse to go into that game. Purple's Art, how you doing? Finally remembered to check if you were streaming on a night when you were actually streaming. Well, I'm glad you got a chance to stop by. Welcome, Purple's Art. I was wondering why it said first time chat, because of course I recognize your name and you may recognize Tekri as well. But of course, I suppose this would have been the first time that you are catching me on Twitch rather than YouTube. I don't know if you've watched any of the Industries of Titan videos, but you picked a good night to stop by because we're going to be starting a new run of Titan just as soon as we get through the patch notes. So with that in mind, patch highlights. Press for success. Victory conditions have been reworked into victory contracts. A leg up. You can now start new games with starting bonuses. By the way, I like this one. Like the wind, a new environmental effect is here. Wind, and more. Industries of Titan is in early access, which means we are actively updating and adding new content based on our roadmap and your wonderful feedback. As we ramp up for the 1.0 launch, we will be moving away from a monthly update schedule to help us complete the remaining features more quickly. You'll still hear updates from us on the development progress each month, but we may not have a new build for you to play every Titan Tuesday going forward. The version is now 0.27.1 due to a hotfix, which added the updated roadmap. So much like Phantom Brigade, these are games that are sort of getting ready for their full releases, which is, of course, a really exciting time because it means a bunch of people who sort of been sitting on the fence waiting for the full release are finally going to come into the game. And with Phantom Brigade, it's going to be the first time it's been available on Steam, which I suspect will draw a lot of attention to it. But with that in mind, it does mean that I'm going to have a little bit more flexibility in terms of which game I play, and we can sort of have these chunks of runs where I'm a little bit closer to getting to the end of things. And again, I'm sure, as somebody who's been following Industries of Titan, like to a certain extent, I kind of want this game to be in development forever, because that just means there's more stuff for me to do and there's more stuff for me to broadcast. But it also means that, there's a big milestone for the team. They get a chance to sort of, hit that magic moment of saying that, we did 1.0, and I hope they feel proud of their work already. But I don't know, there's just something about sort of saying it's done that makes it that unique moment. So like I said, it's an exciting time. As always, the Saturn icon indicates whether or not that's a change due to community feedback. So, a new environmental effect, wind. Each map will have a wind direction set at the start of the game. Pollution will be moved by the wind, and wind strength will vary over time. New gameplay features, starting bonuses. Starting bonuses will offer powerful boosts that can change how you approach each game. Each bonus will have a related drawback, so choose carefully. At the start of a new game, you can pick one or none of 4 bonuses. Victory Conditions 2.0. Victory conditions have been reworked to victory contracts. Victory points are now arranged in a tier list by victory card. In order to unlock a victory point in a higher tier, you must first complete a victory point in the tier below. Unlocking and completing higher tier points will grant you more score towards victory. If a point is lost in a lower tier, all higher tier points it granted access to will stop counting towards your score until the lower tier point is achieved again. This might be a little bit easier when I can pull it. Like, I kind of know what they're talking about, but this might be a bit clearer when I show it in the game. Victory will now be graded in bronze, silver, or gold. Each level will award 1, 2, and 3 trophies respectively. I'm wondering if they ever experimented with the idea of like mineral isotope artifact, which is kind of like thematic and interesting, but on the other hand, maybe is a little less clear to outside viewers. Maybe I'll put that in like feedback or something like that. Progression is being updated. Trophies will now be tracked across playthroughs for unlocking additional victory cards and starting bonuses. And incidentally, if you read that blog or that update that they gave, having sort of replayability and sort of a campaign style is definitely one of the big things that is going to be sort of implemented over the next few months. How you doing, Immortal Velity? Now, this is an interesting one for me. New game option, choose game length. Game length can be set at the start of a new game. Can choose to start a short, normal, or long game. Short games require fewer points to claim victory. Long games will require more points. So, of course, in hindsight, having an option like this is something that probably would have allowed me to complete the game, more often on my streaming schedule. Because, the fact of the matter is that if evenly divide the number, I more or less started coming late to the Dirty Rectangles meetups in order to sort of maintain the schedule, because I really didn't like the fact that Industries of Titan was getting sort of the short end of the stick as far as coverage was concerned. But even if we divide, my normal streaming schedule between Industries of Titan and Phantom Brigade evenly, that's really 2 sessions per patch. And I don't like increasing the speed of the game. So, like, the likelihood of me actually getting to a victory condition is kind of silly if you think about it. Now, I've definitely gone later and I've definitely added extra streams. We've certainly gotten to the end in a few different cases, but I also feel like I should be playing the game to the end more than I really have. And so one thing that's nice about this option is that for streaming purposes, because I'm obviously not only going to be streaming this game in the early access period, I'm going to be streaming this game on full release. But if I feel like I need to sort of get it done a little more quickly, or I'm a little more uncertain in terms of what kind of time I have available, being able to choose something like a short or a long game is really, it's like, I like this option quite a bit, because it means that I have to, because the updates aren't necessarily going to be compatible over playthroughs, it's something that means that I have fewer kind of abandoned sessions. Anyways, miscellaneous, updated VFX for research efficiency upgrades, added exhaust VFX for trucks. I'm really interested to see what this looks like. This is a community suggestion. Damage flag will appear on devices that get destroyed in combat. This will make it much easier to know when a device on a ship is not working because it needs to be fully repaired. And another community suggestion, and it's been a while since I've gone through the tutorials. Tutorials will now prompt players before immediately delivering tutorial instructions. The first few tutorial steps will still automatically play. After those, players will be prompted to access the next objective when they are ready. A building's health bar will now always display when the fire intensity bar displays. Added Braxton's audio logs. Updated the priorities icon in the worker management panel. Simplified tooltips for some of the buttons in the top bar when the function is not unlocked yet. And then some balance and fixes. Again, community feedback. Roads are now always non-flammable. All buildings are now unlocked with credits. So that means even wind turbines? I'll have to take a look at that. Reduce the time increase from each research node by 20%. Increase turret health by 10, 15, 20 for levels 1, 2, and 3. Reduce the health of Tier 1 and Tier 2 rebel ships by 20 and 10 respectively. Increase the health of all buildings by 10 to 15%. Increase the starting influence from 20 to 50. Sorry, for some reason I read that as a greater than sign. Decrease passive influence gain rate by 25%. Ooh, that's going to be a tough one for me. Devices construct 3 times faster. Reduced build, upgrade, and connection times for all buildings. And ruin actions are 20% faster. Fixes. Fix spacebar exiting the building after renaming it while inside. Fix connecting to storage facilities initially displaying a full progress bar until the job starts. Fix building selection SFX playing louder after exiting the interior view. Fix the power shield medium VFX only displaying when powering off. Fix an issue where the under attack and building on fire banners could still be clicked after they went away. Fixed a number of issues that could occur when pausing and resuming device construction and dismantle jobs. Fixed audio log background SFX continuing to play if a log finished playing in the codecs. Fixed an issue with advisors being louder when talking to you while inside a ship. Fixed tooltip for no free employees not displaying numbers if there are no employees. Fixed a fire warning sound effect playing each time a building was extinguished if other buildings were on fire. Fixed an issue with dismantled devices appearing incorrectly when saving or loading in the middle of the process. Fixed an issue with the health and fire intensity bars not immediately appearing on buildings when loading into a paused game. And fixed an issue where resource patches had a brief period where they could be set to dismantle while having 0 resources. That sounds really weird, and I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to see that. Anyways, that is the state of the update. So I'm going to close out all my windows here, and you all get to watch a movie. Uh-oh. And you all get to watch a movie.
Titan. Everyone comes to Titan with a dream. Our moon is one of limitless wealth. There are ancient riches here for those with the strength to claim them. But But some dreams start smaller. A better life, more dignity, more comfort. Today, Titan is a place where you can buy those dreams, where anyone can profit. But it isn't easy. You have to prove yourself here. Those who settle here take that risk. And without their diligent labor, our power grid would fail. Pollution would overwhelm us. And our trade would collapse. It's hard work, but on Titan, hard work isn't enough. The bold, the strong, those are the people Titan rewards. Those are the ones who see their dreams through. Exceptional people. Friends to the Council. That is why we're giving you this opportunity, Founder. We expect great things from you. Make sure you live up to our expectations.
Apologize for keeping the mouse cursor in the middle there. I'm really used to seeing this intro, so I just kind of get sucked into it right away, but here we are. Early Access Roadmap, updated June 2022. So Victory Contracts gameplay and UI update, new starting bonuses and win gameplay, what's been previously added, rival AI, fire rebalance, more advisor banter, career progression, fire and temperature, tech web sub-tiers, new corporate goals, UI improvements, and more. And planned updates, campaign mode, new rivals, hospitals, parks, additional victory conditions, music, new map locations, tech web nodes, character interactions, and it looks like that is it. I noticed that they're not putting "and more" anymore, so I am intrigued. I don't know if this is an ordering in terms of what the, like if we'll see a campaign mode before hospitals and parks. I remember once upon a time there were going to be things like clubs and like various amenities and such. So now it's just going to be parks. The only reason why I somewhat regret that loss is that you'll see some of the different logos for like Grub and stuff like that. And I don't know how much we're going to wind up interacting with them. But again, this is definitely a pretty... Like, if you think about it, right, the number, just these things alone, you can kind of already imagine just how much more that adds to the game. And so in this case here, I'm particular. I mean, so I think campaign mode is going to be really fun just to be able to kind of go over and over on it. But I'm actually really interested in seeing, like, once the hospitals and parks kind of slot in, I am rather intrigued by seeing how that's going to adjust the way that I play the game. Because like right now, I do not care about the health of my employees at all. But you know, I think it has always been the intention that there's going to be some push and pull. I don't know if it's going to be as deep as. So I think once upon a time there was a plan of trying to introduce sort of competition for talent. So essentially, if you had a pretty crummy place to work, people would wind up migrating to a rival corporation. I don't know if that's still planned or if I just imagine that, right? Like, obviously, I don't know anything you all do, or at least couldn't figure out for yourselves in terms of what's going on in the game. So certainly if I've said something and its absence makes you mad, that's on me. That's not on, on the people making Titan. So I have really wanted to go back to time contract at some point. I am still kind of curious about, so I don't know if it's the fact that people are not doing as many timed contracts, or if there's something that's prevented me from being able to see what the scores are. But in this case, I tend to find starting with the standard mode is best for broadcast. So, but I think maybe what I'll do, maybe I'll do like a special Titan week or something like that, and maybe I'll like do timed contracts each time and like just do a ton of extra Titan. Anyways, standard dynamic difficulty, the intended way to play. In standard mode, enemy aggression is based off your performance as a corporation. So we'll start with normal difficulty. So this is the game length that was talked about. So in a short run, oh, that's interesting. I would have thought it would tell you what the conditions were if you mouse over. I wonder if that's a bug. In any case, it looks like everything shifts by 5. Yeah. So 5 fewer points for short, and for long, they add 5 points. So we'll go for normal. And rebel activity, now, if you're interested, still mad you think Winters could be Axelrod? Reincarnated, earning worldly fortune for his great bravery. I totally forgot that I mentioned that. Like, I obviously don't believe that. I don't think of that save for conversations about Damian Lewis's noteworthy performances. I'm sure there's others, they're just not ones that I haven't seen. But yeah. One thing I do just want to say, especially because I know there's a few people who are possibly seeing this game for the first time. So if you are looking for kind of a SimCity style experience, there is a Zen mode. And that means that there's no enemy attacks. Now, what I'm going to strongly recommend for you is that at least give the game a chance on easy first. And I say this because there is a strategy element to Industries of Titan, and the city builder is wonderful. As a city builder, I think it adds new things that aren't in other city builders. So it is absolutely not to say that the game is not, a full experience in Zen. I think Zen can be perfectly enjoyable if you like that. But as I'm fond of saying, right, I live in Ottawa, formerly Bytown, and it is a place, like, the city owes its existence in large part due to its strategic benefits as much as anything else. And this is true of a lot of places in the world, borders being the way that they are, or cities being located in one area as opposed to another. And this is also true of Industries of Titan. So in the case of Industries of Titan, your city is going to look different if you have to worry about defense, rather than if you just kind of sit around and build however you want. So I will stress, right, you can play the game however you want. That is why we play games, and that's why different modes exist. But what I would like to recommend is that you do give standard a try, because I don't think the rebels are insurmountable. And what you can get out of this is just I would argue, a more interesting city, right? So the reason I am advocating for standard over Zen, at the at the risk of turning to Korean Algrins against me. Oh, I didn't realize you were in Ottawa either, Purple's Art. But yeah, basically the how do I put it? Like, the idea here is that if you like a city builder and you don't want it to just be a pure sort of sculpting experience or pure crafting experience, standard is going to give you another variable to play around with. So in Zen, you're going to have limitations on resources. You're going to have certain blocks, whether it's bodies of water or, a lack of influence or whatever. But what I just want to say here is that there is a natural, and I mean, I say that purely with tongue in cheek when I say, I'm going to turn chat against me. The reason I'm taking the time to say this is that I think there is actually an argument for the city building experience being more interesting with this external threat than with the absence of it. And that's why I would say at least give easy mode a try. But yeah, I mean, with that in mind, some people are going to be saying is like, I actually don't want there to be restrictions on my city building. I just want to build my grand vision of a cyberpunk dystopia. In that case, obviously try the Zen mode. But the one thing I just want to say is that I do actually think that this game has been built in such a way that if you prefer the buildy sides of things, because again, keep in mind, like, you've all watched me play Old World, you all know that in 4X games, I definitely do not like the military options. I understand that they're necessary, but I try to avoid them as much as I can. I'm definitely not going to go full warmonger if I have the option. I mean, if it's optimal, then I'll do it. But like, it's not something that's gonna. It's not where my passion is for these games. And so I just wanted to sort of say, it's like, I do actually think this game is built to acknowledge that there are players like that there are players who like to build things, and the standard mode actually has something to offer for you. How you doing, Olaf? I am doing all right. I've got some work that I need to do after stream, but other than that, I'm managing. Anyways, I'm going to keep difficulty at normal. Eventually, I do want to do more hard and Titan, but let's get some victories under my belt. I'll do normal game length. And I can actually say that, so for incidentally, for those of you who want to try survival mode, you can actually, you also can start in standard, because basically when you finish standard, you're given the option of moving into survival mode. Now, endless means if you destroy all the rebel HQs, there are no more attacks, whereas if you do, elimination means that if you destroy all the rebel HQs, there are no more attacks, whereas endless is kind of the default for the game, and it's it works for me, but apparently people had strong feelings about this, is that they sort of say, it's like, well, we destroyed the HQs, so there should be no more attacks. And it's like, well, I kind of see where you're going with that, but like, it's not like the ships. So this is like one of the first things we learned about this game, is like, we had a view on the rebel bases, and we said, oh, let's position our ships near the rebel bases, because that's where the ships, like, that's where the raids are coming from. And the ships didn't come from the rebel bases. The ships came from off the map, because of course the rebels are not limited to that territory. It just happens to be it's the case that there are rebel HQs in that area, but that is not like the full rebel presence. And so it's always been true that the rebels that are specifically launching attacks on you are coming from off the map in most cases. The reason why I say in most cases, like, if you expand out to a certain level that a rebel ship is gonna like see you, they'll attack you. Like, they don't just sit passive. So yeah, to me, I don't know, I'm fine sticking with endless. I've played this way the whole time. But if you want a pathway which says that eventually the rebel attacks stop, you can do elimination. Although I suppose to a certain extent, you're kind of like, well, I guess, that's why you'd just go to Zen in that case. So I don't know. Obviously, it seems that people were happy that this was added, so I won't question it too much. Now, this is interesting. I didn't know if, at least I don't recall if you've had the option of removing this rival or not. It feels new to me. But anyway, select your rivals. Rivals will build cities not far from your HQ. Like you, they will generate pollution, buy land, extract ruins, and consume resources. Each rival has their own personality and goals to contend with. So I do want to still play with rivals, even though I'm very slow to develop. Corporation goal, enterprising employer. Personality, pacifist. Faction, landfaller. A cosmopolitan sort of fellow, Quill's early life was one in motion, moving from colony to colony, never staying in one place too long. Throughout his travels, he learned the value of community and people and carried them into his business ventures. Eventually, he chose Titan as home as home of his startup, with hopes of improving life on the infamous moon. But Titan is no place for an idealist, as he soon found out. Nowadays, one can find Quill holed up in his office or drinking alone at a bar, watching the goings-on outside his window with a frown. According to an inside source, there is a one-way ticket off Titan tucked somewhere in his desk, waiting for the day Titan's brutality becomes too much for Quill's ideals to withstand. I kind of want to believe there's a few little similarities in terms of the idealism and founding a business. For those of you who remember Isaac, the épée from Boyfriend Dungeon, right? He's born, son of a wealthy kind of a business magnate. And a lot of the character development is about his relationship with his dad and sort of his ideals in terms of kind of social enterprise and such. It almost kind of makes me think that there's an alternative universe in which Boyfriend Dungeon and I don't know, Kid Fox and Brace Yourself merged, and Isaac was incorporated into Industries of Titan under a new name. All right, does anybody in chat have an opinion on where we start? So I think I had done Ruthless Opportunity. I'd be happy to do that again, but I'll do a quick description for all of these to see, and if not, I can also do a random choice. So each location on Titan has a different map setting. So standard investment, the council's typical starting territory for new investments. Barren land provides the perfect canvas for an exciting new city corporation. Ruthless Opportunity. The most lucrative parts of Titan are also the most dangerous. Only the strongest will be able to protect their cities here. The rest will crumble into the crevices. Rugged Venture, an uninhabited, inhospitable area of Titan, calm due to its abundance of rocky mountains and beautiful yet exotic waters, perfect for companies looking to trailblaze. Tranquil Trailblazing. This lake-rich area has resulted in few places for rebel camps to spring up, excellent for companies who aren't cut out for cutthroat combat. And Chemical Enterprise. This ethane-rich land could prove a boon to an enterprising founder, especially for corporations with high energy requirements. So if anybody so basically standard, this one's got tough weather, tough rebel camps. This one lower camps, but also sort of scarce resources. Tranquil Trailblazing, basically you're really constrained on territory, but also lower rebels. And in this case, this one has higher rebels, good for zethane production. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to kind of rank them. Like, I think the game's descriptions are good enough, but all of them have their own types of efficiency. Rugged Venture is something actually where power becomes a bit of a problem. Oh, Chemical Enterprise? Sorry. Okay, Chemical Enterprise is always a bit of a treat for me because it's one where it's so easy for me to generate energy. So, all right, the zethane-rich land could prove a boon to an enterprising founder, especially for corporations with high energy requirements. Well, I can't change the name, the Cadence Group, so let's find a Dancy. This is the closest percussivant I've got. All right, let's go. Over the past several thousand years, Titan slowly lost some of its toxic atmosphere to interactions with Saturn's magnetic field. When humans recolonized it, however, they began to rapidly rebuild that smog layer. Lord Franklin Bancroft's hidden patent for a perpetual energy machine powered by percussivants. All right, so our starting bonus. This is, I think they had these, they showed a couple of these, but I think some of them were blurred out. So we can skip, but why would we do that? Let's play with the new bonuses. So insurance policy, generate 500 credits whenever a citizen dies, but citizens earn 20% less credits. Now, one thing that's really important here is that you can actually imagine a situation where you'd actually build sort of housing beside something to generate pollution to sort of maximize your returns from dead citizens. The thing is that I would also need to make sure that I had the influence in order to be able to get them back. And I suppose the challenge there is with the 25% reduction on influence, I don't necessarily know where that's going to come from. So I'm a bit reluctant to try the insurance policy. Performance bonus of 25% of the day's earnings if citizen health is above 75% by the end of the day, and penalty of 50% of the day's earnings if citizen's health is below 75% by the end of the day. Good Lord. That is a really big stick to get beaten with. Okay, human resources, migrant ships grant you influence. Migrant ships also generate 200% more waste. So, oh God. These two are really putting the screws to me as far as things that I'm bad at. And aerial armaments, no weapon limits on all ships, max 4, and shipyards support 1 less ship. Okay, so we're cutting these two out. I do kind of like the high risk, high reward of performance bonus, but man, I don't think I'm going to be able to keep my citizen health where it needs to be. So let's try human resources and let's make sure that we have a strategy for dealing with our waste right away. So there's a couple things that I want to do off the bat. So I'm going to edit the priorities. So generally I like the way that the game sets things up. The only thing that I want to do differently is I want the extraction and salvage jobs to be above surveying. And this is just because generally when I hit an extract button, I kind of want someone to respond on that right away. Oh, sorry, how much influence comes from space? I'm not worried too much about knowing the amount. I mean, maybe that'll change afterwards, but and yeah, I think everything else kind of makes sense in terms of the setup here. Miss Ariella, good to see you. For those of you who do not know her, Miss Ariella is an occasionally nice Australian. No, I'm kidding. She came in and said that I wasn't good at things, so I wanted to seem super hurt. Miss Ariella is a lovely Australian broadcaster who I've actually been really enjoying watching her play Borderlands with Olaf. Borderlands 2 with Olaf. I believe they're currently on the DLC. I actually haven't completed Borderlands 2. But I have already got my favorite Borderlands. I've already got my favorite Borderlands memory, which really is more of a Discord memory rather than anything. But Miss Ariella is somebody who I got to meet in Vancouver. A really wonderful lady. Oop.
Ah, Founder. I suppose I can make some time for you, if you wish to chat. No doubt you know about the countless lives saved via my brilliant inclement weather prediction system on Earth. Countless! It's no wonder I have so many imposters who insist that I was not the brains behind the operation. My sister among them. But I'm sure you understand, as a founder, that one's enemies are always trying to discredit you out of sheer jealousy. I'd feel sorry for my poor dear of a sister, really, if she weren't so insistent on getting the law and related bureaucracy involved. All that red tape, and for what? That's what I like about being here on Titan now. None of those rules, none of that pesky due diligence or bane of my life, ethics boards. That's why we'll do great things here, Founder. Just you wait. Brilliant research is just around the corner.
Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? Anyways, Miss Ariella is, again, somebody who I've had the great pleasure of meeting in person in Vancouver, and is somebody I've pretty much known all the time I have been streaming on Twitch. My God, Olaf. We'll let the arc close, and then we'll be ready to make some progress. Thank you very much for subsidizing Miss Ariella's entertainment and keeping the lights on my side of things. I really do hope that you're putting most of your money. I would prefer all of it, but I do appreciate the subs that I get from you, as well as the subs that you've gifted to this channel. But I do hope that it's still going towards your stuff, because you work hard for it. All right. So while Braxton, who is our science advisor, was talking to us, you saw me sort of put these little magnifying glasses over the ruins. And basically what's going on here is I'm going to have some workers who get off the ship at the spaceport. They're going to start scanning the ruins. Now, everything in the blue box is something that I control. It's territory that I have been given by the council. Now, on top of that, you'll notice this yellow area. This is sort of area that I have influence over, but I don't yet own. I need to use influence, which is from it's a currency from the council. I actually need to pay the council to gain access to that land. So one of the things that I'm doing first is I'm scanning the ruins within my territory. I'll be using those for resources to build things with, as well as scanning potential expansion points. And one of the first things I want to do, because there is going to be, I have a higher amount of influence to start with, but the gain rate is lower. I'm going to want to decide, do I go for expansion to raw resources first, or do I try my luck and dedicate people to working patches. It's not terrible to have somebody working an isotope or mineral patch off the top, because there's I've got 8 workers running around here. It's not like it's not like I'm using all 8 except to sort of look at all of these different ruins to start off with. So giving up 2 to get the mining done, that's not the end of the world. On the other hand, I would, if I can, I'd like to just have a bunch of workers doing other things related to, something a little more related to my corporate goals. Okay, so we've got an energy relay. Okay, so you know what? I'm actually going to activate it as soon as I can. So this thing's good for 2 artifacts. So some of these are only good for 1 artifact. So this ruins with 32 minerals is kind of tempting. Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do here is we're actually going to use this for the minerals and isotopes. We'll use this for the artifact. This for the artifact. We will use this for a relay. Okay, and what I can start doing now is claiming... These are particularly attractive because they're close to my HQ. So one thing I'm going to be needing right away are isotopes to be able to build my factories. So basically the way that this works is I use my headquarters. So there's 2 layers to this game. I'll actually just take a minute to kind of explain the overall idea about how the building works here. There is the kind of macro layer here. You've got the city level. And in order to be able to build buildings, and yes, it does look like all of the buildings are bought with credits. So, I mean, it's like it said in the patch notes, but in this case, we don't need to research anything like fans anymore. But basically, the idea here is that any of the buildings that I want to build, except for some of the most basic ones, like the factory and the energy pylon, you'll notice that it talks about mineral CUs and isotope CUs, and you'll see that the mineral CUs are numbers like 200 and all of that. Also, sorry, I did see the references to pillaging for gold. So I appreciate getting my share of the booty. But yeah, so basically, given the fact that I said it was kind of desirable that we would be getting 32 minerals from this site, it's kind of fair to say that they're like, it's not a good idea to try and build these big buildings right away. What you want to do is you want to develop some infrastructure to be able to sort of expand out and refine your resources a little bit better. So with that in mind, you'll usually start in sort of the micro level inside of factories and headquarters, and building these smaller buildings which are sort of dedicated towards certain types of expansion. So what I might do here is I might let the storage container get filled up. I'm actually going to put 2 people on moving minerals and isotopes for a bit. And we're going to use that to build, a bigger container, build a waste receptacle, a few things like that. And again, the majority of my people are going to be scanning out potential areas of expansion. So this is appealing because it's got isotopes, so we'll take that right away. This is really good for artifacts, but I maybe don't need the artifacts right away. Okay, so I'm going to want this for the fuel, and actually pollution absorption is pretty good. So there's an argument for me putting something like but the catch there is if I want to build fuel turbines near there, that's going to put a damper on those plans. All right, I'll debate about the fuel turbine there, I think. Now, I suppose one way or the other, I'm going to have to generate power and energy. So we'll start by dropping these right away. And I also have enough to start putting down a factory. So this one won't actually get built until I put a waste receptacle down. Of course, I'll need minerals for that, so... Oh yes, sorry. Also, you can be a big jerk in this game. So I pay my employees 320 credits a day, but if I'm not generating any money, I can just buy as many buildings as I can with the 4,000 credits, stiff my employees for the next few turns, and then start paying them once I'm turning a profit. So in this particular case here, what I'm doing is I'm sort of building up the capacity in my in my city corp. And the penalty is that I won't be able to build more workers, but I'm going to have a big surplus of workers at the start. So I think I want to start with a smokestack because we did say that migrant ships were going to bring in a bunch of waste. So clearly, if we're going to be playing close to a bunch of zethane resources, I think fuel turbine's kind of hard to turn down. And an energy plant. So we've got 1,000 left. So I've got a few options here. I could build a shipyard or a defense turret. Or I could go early on things like the mine or probably the ones that I would want to consider would be the mine. I'm not entirely sure we could justify a transport hub right now. So yeah, defensive turret or a shipyard to protect myself. Alternatively, a science lab would make sense because I would just be getting on the research a bit faster. But in this case here, I think I'm going to go for the shipyard, and we'll see how it turns out. I'm generally going to assume that I'm going to have access to fewer. I'm going to assume that I have access to fewer. Sorry, what am I trying to say? I'm going to assume that I have access to fewer. Fewer tiles than in a normal playthrough because of the perk that I took, or sorry, because of the influence generation, and so I don't I'm trying to build with that. I'm trying to build with that in mind. How you doing, Whiskey? Is amazing. Sorry to be spamming you so much on DMs, but I thought you'd get a kick out of. I thought you'd get a kick out of that detail that I found. Okay, so we are on an isotope hunt right now. So 3 isotopes for 20. I'm going to skip that. Incidentally, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to try and answer them as best as I can, but I'm also taking quite a bit for granted. And I realize that that's going to create a couple situations where I speak as if things are obvious and they're anything but. Okay, so we're already full. Oh, I was really hoping we'd be able to put down another storage container. Okay, this shouldn't be too much of a problem. I more or less have the isotopes that I want now, so I'll stop prioritizing them. For those of you who don't know, so there's a broadcast I used to watch with Whiskey is Amazing, and the broadcaster was a little too, like, almost to a level of, like, methinks the lady doth protest too much in terms of their dislike of communism. It was kind of like, so my parents had me when they were a bit older, and it really felt like sometimes that my dad was a really big Cold Warrior. Like, he genuinely believed that the USSR was sort of like the evil empire, and like he really liked Ronald Reagan, even though, you know, he's like he's Canadian. Like, I mean, again, like, it's not to, I'm not gonna try and say, oh, you know, actually the USSR was great, you know, we should all be so lucky to see its return. But yeah, like, it was just, it was, it kind of, whenever that would come up in the chat, like, it would always sort of provoke a fairly strong reaction on how bad communism was. And so for a while, whenever Whiskey was in the chat, I would have this habit of introducing seemingly innocuous topics, and then through increasingly Baroque means, you know, having it come back to communism and basically have that become surprise communism. And that kind of became a regular occurrence, I'm sure, to the supreme annoyance of the broadcaster. But in any case, I did find out that I believe today is the birth date of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. And so I was sure to wish Whiskey is Amazing a happy birthday, with a further correction that, oh, I know it's not your birthday. It is, in fact, the birthday of the glorious, so on and so forth. So for those of you wondering why Whiskey is going on about the USSR, you have not time traveled. You're seeing a long-suffering viewer. Yeah, long-suffering viewer put up with my silly jokes. Okay, let's take a minute here. I'm gonna lay down the foundations of one of my production lines. So we were talking about turning minerals into things that you could give a socialist view never hurts, but always that would sound weirdly entertaining. No one expects the Soviet Inquisition. Yeah, is basically the Monty Python "No one expects the Spanish Inquisition" line on a Twitch broadcast. And yeah, I mean, again, like, it's absolutely nothing to do with my politics. Like, you know, like the whole point about it, I think, actually was eventually it just got to the point where it had nothing to do with the politics or, you know, anybody's genuine beliefs on it. It was just mostly because the reaction was always so strong on the most innocuous, like, I could have said something like, you know, International Women's Day actually has its origin in communist countries, which is true. And for those of you that haven't read my International Women's Day article, like, it's got some fun Google Trends data inside of it. But what Wasn't it Blackadder? I don't believe. I believe it was Monty Python that had Nobody Expects a Spanish Inquisition. There might have been a Blackadder joke inside of it. I haven't seen all of it. I'm aware of it, but I'm pretty sure somebody can. I feel embarrassed because I both like the Python programming language as well as the Monty Python is the reference for. It's why you have spam and eggs in all of the examples. Absolutely Monty Python. Okay, cool. But yeah, I mean, again, I haven't seen all of Blackadder, so I don't know if they had a Spanish Inquisition, but okay, cool. The majority is spoken. But yeah, in any case, yeah, like the point was definitely not about the, like, I don't think anybody was seriously expecting to have some kind of like a seminar on, you know, comparative politics or economic systems or anything like that. It just happened to be because the reaction was always so strong, even over something like, you know, oh yeah, did you know International Women's Day actually has its origins, and you know, that would still provoke a rant on the inherent evil of the system. So it's because I'm apparently just a big old bully. I couldn't resist the opportunity. Okay, so I've used up all of my my influence for now. We will pretty quickly move on to other upgrades, but right now I'm a little more focused on trying to. I should actually try and preserve some of this energy here, but right now we're. I also want to dismantle this thing because it's in an inconvenient place, but. Let's start by upgrading isotopes. Actually, it occurred to me I can get a little efficiency on the isotopes if I dismantle this. So if I dismantle this factory. Poke the bear is a wonderful term when referring to surprise communism. Yeah, well, that's just it. Like, if people, you know, if people are like genuinely getting upset to a level of like, you know, it's like if it genuinely becomes like, you never want something like that to become bullying, basically. But if you can have a good laugh about, you know, someone really, you know, really over investing on that particular topic, it's definitely a lot of fun for. It's definitely a lot of fun for, you know, for all present. I don't know. I think there's a lot of value in being able to laugh at oneself. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick second here to introduce a few of the characters, and I'm just going to build up my factory, and then anything that I want to say while people are talking, I'll kind of explain after the fact, because I want to try and keep things going.
Titan, Founder. I am Einar Peer, your council representative. There are currently 9 council members on Titan. Each of us sponsors and oversees different corporations on this moon. I am your sponsor. Your city permit and council funding are thanks to me. I hope you will return my faith with high profits. And remember, everything the council has given you can easily be taken away. Founder, it seems that you've successfully begun constructing your city. However, your future population also needs to be stored adequately. I suggest you construct habitat pods inside your headquarters. You can set these pods up next to your factory equipment. Don't worry, your citizens won't mind.
We're not going to do that. It's not because I'm such a nice guy. It's just I have a slightly better system called my work from home setup. Okay, you're all going to meet Ciaro Hess, and I'm going to put the kettle on for some more tea.
Welcome, Founder. My name is Ciaro Hess, and I am your corporation monitor. Every founder on Titan is assigned a monitor like me. I make sure you treat Titan with respect. It is the Council's property, after all. If we work together, we'll make this city very efficient. Founder, you may have noticed that there are several patches of resource-rich land near your territory. Surface-level minerals and isotopes require no special equipment to harvest. This makes them the best choice for a new city. You should claim this land from the Council as soon as possible.
Okay. So you'll notice that I'm putting down these little energy pylons here, and the idea for this game is that you generate, so you've got a system through which you generate power, so you need to extract fuel. Fuel comes from zethane in the air. Fuel goes into a generator, which will generate power. Power is used to, well, power your industry. I'll put a battery down here mostly because I can. But you need to transport the power, so you don't need to lay wires, but you do still need to build energy bridges and relays. So basically a relay inside of its kind of little area of effect will transmit energy both to and from. So because I have the battery inside the range of the relay, it's being powered. And then power that's being generated in the building can go to an energy bridge. An energy bridge will then connect to an activated relay. So that relay could be either one that I construct, or it could be one that comes from these inert ruins. So there are some ruins in the game which you can reactivate using artifacts. Artifacts are one of those things that I was extracting from these, these various tiles. I'll be extracting a lot of artifacts by the end of this, so it's doesn't require too much elaboration right now. Oh god, that was full of waste. Still, mineral's a mineral. Yeah, so basically here I do need to work out a bit of a power grid. Now, one thing that's kind of cool about this game is that there's a lot of rock, paper, scissors to be played. But one thing that's kind of cool about it is that you can actually, as long as it's adjacent, you're fine. So as long as the borders are touching, you'll still get the connection, so you don't have to overlap, and that actually led to a lot more interesting factory configurations as a result. So that was a fairly clever choice on their part. Now what I'm really doing here is I'm using this processor to be able to refine some resources, and this is because you'll see how everything's measured in construction units. So for instance, if I want those generators I was building are built using mineral CUs, mineral construction units. Tier 1 minerals are worth 1 construction unit, so I need to give 5 of them up, or well, 4 of them up in order to build a small power generator. But upgrading them to tier 2, which I do through this refining process, makes them worth 5 construction units. So in that case, I only have to give up 1 tier 2 as opposed to 4 tier 1s. I can further upgrade tier 2 to tier 3, and they're worth 25. So you get an increase, it's 5 times each time you upgrade a tier for minerals. And then isotopes work similarly, except that they are generally more rare, and you go from 1 to 3 and 3 to 9. So it's a multiple of 3 each time you refine them. So refining is a way that you can start building things on sort of the surface layer quite quickly. So you may be wondering why I demolished that factory, and that's because now I've got a tier 2 isotope to work with. My kettle's boiling, so I'm going to give you another little bit of dialogue. I'll be back in just a second.
Founder, a reminder that there are several patches of resource-rich land near your territory that you should make use of. Claim the land from the Council and set an employee to work on harvesting these minerals and isotope patches.
Sorry about that. So he's talking about taking these patches, but again, with the influence that I have, I want to take advantage of anything that's coming out of the ruins first. So Elgrin says, general gist of things, buy buildings, build factory production in buildings, connect buildings over the city to provide production chains. Generally, yes. Now, what's the ultimate goal? This is the subject of the new update. So this has been changed. In 6 days and 9 hours game time, we'll get the next tier. But right now, our goals are High Roller to own 24,000 credits. Purifier Maven, own 1 air purifier. Fuel Philanthropist, own 4 fuel silos. And then tier 2, which again, these are locked until I accomplish the previous tier. So Resource Harvester, clear 8 resource patches. Landlord, own 4 residential buildings. Now, I'm curious here, I guess it means that if you connect, like if you double up the residential buildings, it still only counts as the 1. Impenetrable, own 4 defensive turrets. And it looks like it's an empty block for the line over here. So what's kind of interesting is this commitment down a particular path. So for instance, it's not that hard for me to own an air purifier. I don't know if activating the inert ruin's going to count as an air purifier. I suspect I have to build it for myself. But Landlord is a fairly attractive one for me to accomplish for the simple reason that I am going to wind up with quite a few residential buildings by the end of this. So the production chains don't exist necessarily for their own, like they're not kind of self-justifying. The production chains are really about me being able to fulfill the goals that the council set out for me. And I think the most realistic one for me at the moment is to focus on gaining those residential buildings. Although getting 24,000 credits would be pretty nice as well. I'm actually not clear. So this idea of clearing 8 resource patches, one thing I'm a little curious about is that I don't know if it's going to be tracking this goal in the background while I'm waiting to get 24,000 credits. You got to head out and finish getting ready for a thing. Have a great stream. Have a great evening yourself, Tikri. Thank you very much for stopping by. And as always, I really appreciate the retweets and the attention that you give the channel. So we will see you in the future. Yeah, so one thing I'm kind of curious about here is it does say that things get locked in the previous tier. So this does actually have a couple of implications in how I would go about playing the game. And it's not really going to change this current situation all that much, but it does sort of invite a couple of questions in terms of how you might strategize one of these paths. So 24,000 credits is quite a bit to start off with. And what I'm kind of curious about is if it's got this running tally of resource patches in the background, because in that case, it's just like, okay, well, I'll work on my resource patches as I can. At some point, the objective will be met and we call it a day. Like we don't need to worry about, getting, just the 24,000 credits will happen and then we get credit for that. But the other possibility is that this doesn't get tracked until you unlock tier 1. And at that point, if I've gotten rid of all of my resource patches, then I just have to go hunting somewhere else on the map. And I believe this one is a little resource scarce. So given the fact that there's a rival corporation running around somewhere here, I may want to be kind of careful on that. Also, it's very obvious I'm going to want to expand to the east, 1, because of its fuel possibilities, but number 2, because of the ability to generate more influence. But we'll deal with that later. So that's one thing I'm going to have to figure out over time. But at the moment, I'm not really planning. I may take this isotope patch just simply because this is a nice little spot to tuck a fuel turbine in. It's not near the potential purifiers. But what it does offer is the actually, hang on. Yes, migrant ships grant influence.
Founder, returning so soon? Really, I thought you, of all people, would know that science takes time and patience. I suppose I can run you through some of my work, difficult as it is to explain to a layperson. Okay. How about this? There are several modded employees who work for me, and, well, I have been trying to see if any of these artifacts that look vaguely electronic in nature are able to interact with the mods. Isn't that a fine research project? The interaction we were able to achieve could be viewed as minor, very minor, to anyone who doesn't know what we're doing. Early breakthroughs are easily dismissed, but they are very important in the grand scheme. Still, it may take some time before we see more results. So please don't be alarmed if I don't have anything to show for a long, long time. That is the nature of the beast. Science doesn't wear a stopwatch. That's what I always say. Now, leave me to it, or I'll never get anything done.
So I'm actually demolishing this in order to try and get... So one of the reasons why I'm demolishing everything and rebuilding it is so that I can get... I can kind of improve... I can get the extra isotope from dismantling and rebuilding some of these things. I'm not sure who Dr. Venture is. Sorry.
Hey, Founder! Thrilled to finally meet you. I'm Ayana Oak, your power systems engineer. I'll be managing your city's power systems. That means fuel, energy production, energy storage, all that great stuff. It's my passion, honestly. Since I was a kid, I've wanted nothing more than to slam the contact switch on a giga battery and see the sky light up. And after years of school and grad school and VR training programs and dropping out of VR training programs, I'm finally here. We'll do great stuff together, Founder. Trust me. My career is on the line, and you can count on me to take that seriously.
Ooh, that's gonna sting. Okay, so I was kind of hoping to have some tier 2 minerals to work with this. Let's just say dismantle... Well, I can't dismantle this until somebody can pick it up. I can dismantle this, which is going to create a bunch of waste. So I am going to have to build another storage block. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to build it with tier 1 material. So that's my bad there. But it's not quite the end of the world, because I've got lots of minerals, so I should be able to switch it around.
Founder! We're on the road to fuel independence! Soon, we'll have more than we need, so we need fuel tanks. It's toxic, it's flammable. If we don't have a safe place to put excess fuel, we have to throw it out. Let's build some fuel tanks to store our excess fuel. Then we can build up a reserve. If our fabricators ever go offline, we can tap the reserve to power our city.
Okay, so I don't really want that waste receptacle to be there. Oops. So there's going to be a little bit of a race on this waste receptacle, I think. But yeah, the plot here is really just to try and get this thing built into a factory using tier 2 isotopes fast enough to be able to to take advantage of the refining I've already done. And then these will be slightly more permanent structures. So this is definitely me getting a little crazy on the optimization early, but I do find it kind of helpful, to be honest. The less I have to lock myself into certain choices early on, then the happier I am. I'm starting to work on this isotope patch right away, not necessarily because I need the extra isotopes, but this is going to be a nice spot to clear out for my... this is going to be a nice spot to clear out for a fuel turbine, which is going to give me a lot of power eventually. Yeah, so one thing that's kind of neat about this game is that you can build something with tier 1. The dismantling, like, you don't lose resources by dismantling something. So what you saw there, right, was that I had a few tier 2 minerals parts that I'd built. So what I can do is I can actually build a factory using all tier 1 minerals, and then I can tear it down and I can rebuild it using some of those tier 2s that I have. And as a result, that frees up all those tier 1s that would have otherwise been wasted or locked in. Now, the fact of the matter is that minerals are not that hard to come by in this game. So generally that's like one optimization too far. But it's a nice time. And actually, as Algrin's put it, like, games that don't punish you for experimental building are wonderful. And I agree. I think it's a really nice way to do things. I am a little tempted to try and put down what I call my work from home setup here for my workers. That'll start generating some income, which will get me some extra buildings. More importantly, that also helps with the spaceport migrations. I'm trying to think of what the arguments against it would be. Mostly, the argument against it would be power concerns, which are pretty legitimate, if I'm honest. But we'll see. And looks like we are still locked up for resources, so I'm going to build yet another container. This time I'm going to build it out of tier 2 minerals. So I do have very specific plans about what's going to happen with this factory here, both as far as power and fuel are concerned. I suppose one thing I could do is just lay down the foundations for this extra factory. So I'm thinking could probably put like a vehicle depot here, maybe? And then a turret. I'd have to put the turret here. Oh yeah, actually, so the vehicle depot... Aha! That actually makes it a little more complicated because I'm actually going to need to connect whatever building goes here onto the grid. So maybe we'll leave this be for now. I'll probably put the smokestack somewhere down here, and I should build one sooner rather than later, but I want to see if I can get the headquarters upgraded a little bit. The other thing to remember is that the smokestack costs 100 mineral CUs, so it would be nice to have the factory up and running. Oh, hang on. I actually don't want to use up those isotopes yet. I want to combine the factory, so shame on me. I'm going to dedicate someone to picking up isotopes. Unfortunately, I think they're going to want to pick up all the isotopes on the ground before this one. So here's what I'll do. I'll take a tier 1 isotope. I'll build an energy pylon here. So what that's going to do Now I don't. So this is me kind of tricking the game a little bit. So in this case, the construction job is the higher priority. What they want to do is they want to move the offending resources. So in this case, the isotopes too. They want to move it out of the way before they construct the other one. So if I have like idle isotopes 1s, that's not the end of the world for me. But now I've got somebody moving those 2s. And we can basically do the same trick with this one. Although it's actually not as important here. Okay, so basically what I did here is I combined the factories. So you get more real estate to build devices on if you connect your buildings. The catch is that you cannot, you can't bury the buildings that are connected. Now that's not as big of a concern for me right now because the inert ruin can't be buried and my headquarters can't be buried. So this is going to be a region which I defend anyway. Generally, I like to build my buildings big and I like to build them, like I like to go to the highest tier and I like to have them connected. I noticed that among the Brace Yourself staffers, there seems to be a preference to single buildings in isolation. And I think that's probably to take advantage of burying. So it may be that there's something that I'm missing in terms of the preferences, but generally I like to have sort of peak efficiency buildings. But the trade-off is that it takes me forever to get stuff built, as I'm sure you'll probably notice. In any case, we are about to unleash our... All right. So let's start with the mineral... So again, we don't have all of the resources we need. I'm going to start with whatever tier 1s I can. I'm going to slightly adjust the plan. So I'm still going to use a tier 2, but I'm going to use a tier 2 on the waste module, and that's because if I destroy the waste module, that's going to throw the waste everywhere, and I'm not going to have a place to put it. So I'll put a couple of temporary, basically just a few things that I need to be able to get this thing up and running. And the rest of it I will build with the tier 2 minerals that get generated. So that's why I'm not building the isotope input. I want to build whatever I can using the tier 2 minerals. The rest will be built using tier 1 with the expectation that I'll convert it into something a little more efficient later. So eventually when I get some more minerals as well, I'm going to start building sort of the final form of the home base. And that's going to involve kind of uprooting a couple of these storage containers and a few other details. But we're not quite at that stage yet, so... In the meantime...
Space station operations. Are you the replacement? Oh, never mind. You're the new founder, right? I'm Erlen Fletch, your local spaceport operator. But you can call me Fletch. Have you been up here? No? The space station is, well, it's right above you. Council operation, low-level orbit. Every few cycles, the Council arranges for a new set of trade ships to dock up here. They're carrying cargo and migrants, ready to head down to spaceports all over Titan's surface. You can find the spaceport in your city view. I hope you last longer than the last founder the Council sponsored. Seriously, it's rough out here.
So I'm just going to wait until the mineral goes in storage. Now, there are going to be some steps that I need to take in terms of making it a little more efficient in terms of placement and such. But for the time being, I'll just let everybody kind of run by. So one thing I can do is I can make sure that my tier 1 minerals are going directly into this module. And then I'm also going to put a receptacle for the tier 2s when they get produced. Then I'm going to demolish the employee module here, replace it with something with tier 5s. I'll do the same for the output module. And then the level 1 processor actually requires a bit more. So the level 1 processor requires a total of 10 mineral CUs, so it may make sense to wait until we've got the level 2 before we do anything. So in this case, this is dedicated to tier 1 minerals because that's the input here, and I want to shorten the distance. And then in the future part of the design, there's going to be a region for like the mineral input for the tier 2 to tier 3 part is going to be here. So. Oh, hang on. This was already tier 2. All right, and that's too late, so. So one thing I can afford to do right now is demolish some of the power. So I've got 15 in terms of resources to work with right now, so this just allows me to replace all of these devices right away. And actually I've got a leftover tier 2 as well, so now I can replace the output module. And again, we'll keep the level 1 processor intact for now. And then when I can, I'll add the isotopes module as well, but that's a little less pressing for the time being. Now, I do need to keep an eye on the influence that I'm gaining. So in this case, I have a cap of 100. At the moment, I've just sort of been sitting on it because I don't have any really firm ideas about what I'm doing with the resources right now. At the moment, I'd really prefer to just have people work their tiles. Like I'd prefer to have things upgraded rather than being directly worked, rather than like grabbing more patches or more ruins or anything like that. I kind of like preserving the option. My most likely candidates are going to be doing things like claiming the obsidian ruins because it gets me 11 tier 2 minerals. That's a nice shot in the arm while I'm trying to build things up. Sort of a similar argument for the obsidian ruins here. That actually gets me tier 3 minerals early on, so maybe I can use that to sort of seed my my higher level upgrades. There's a few different things that I can do with it. Whereas, like, right now, I kind of already have... I have kind of more minerals and whatnot than I know what to do with, so... That's kind of the reasoning that I'm working with right now. So let's focus on getting those tier... Let's focus on getting those tier 3s, especially because we're four units away from... Oops. We're 4 units away from getting that higher level building. Or a higher level ruin. Sorry, I'm out to lunch. Alright, this thing's already barfing up waste, so I need to find some receptacles. I think tier 3... Maybe it's better I just put the waste receptacles here. Okay, so I'm going to put some pretty aggressive placement for the waste receptacles here. Not sure I'm really understanding going on, but the factory setups remind you a lot of Big Pharma. Yeah, I think that's not an unfair comparison, because I know Big Pharma sort of relies on a very similar kind of Tetris game to force you to make interesting decisions in terms of how the factory is getting built up. So like right now, what I've been focusing on, I'm actually draining my batteries right now, so I'm going to have to deal with that in a moment. But essentially what I've been doing is I've been building a kind of an infrastructure to... Why the hell are they putting isotopes in here? They must have got those orders before. Yeah, basically I'm building the infrastructure to allow me to get all the other things that I want to build done, is the simplest way I can put it. So this will probably make a little more sense in a second. So one thing I'm going to do here... Nuts. Well, it's temporary, so... So like basically you'll see here now I've got positive power, positive fuel again. And essentially all these resources are going into this factory system. And the idea here is that... Okay, good. There. I didn't realize it took so long in the Obsidian Ruins. Or I probably knew this once upon a time. I just forgot. But yeah, so the plan is basically right now is that I'm building the infrastructure that actually allows me to do the building part of the city builder. A lot of the time in the early game is spent building inside of factories. So I'm taking the time here to get a robust factory up because that's going to be what allows me to expand a bit faster in terms of my employees and such. One thing we haven't talked about is this threat meter. So there's a net worth that your company has as you continue to play the game and do things. And that will essentially, the better you're doing, the more likely the rebels are going to attack. That's what they mean when they say the dynamic difficulty. So hopefully things will be a little bit clearer once I get out of this, setting up this factory line. But it is also, it's fair to say that one thing that's overlooked quite a bit in Industries of Titan is the idea of refining your resources. And so it's one of the reasons why I'm spending so much time kind of working on this.
All right, Founder. So you probably noticed the spaceport is locked up. See, the Council doesn't do things for free. You gotta pay to play around here. If you want access to those ships in the spaceport, first, you gotta trade a few artifacts. Yeah, I think it's ridiculous too, but don't tell anyone I said that. I need this job pretty bad. Fleeters, like me, can only work in 0G.
Okay, salvage is done. I do kind of want these tier 3 minerals sooner rather than later. So I'm going to do the trick that I did last time. Or maybe they'll just pick these things up on their own. Yes, they will. So... if I wanted, I could build this tier 2 processor using tier 1 or tier 2 minerals. But in this case, it's just as easy for me to use. That's one of the reasons why I was happy to wait and level up the... to just let the influence kind of stack up, because now I've got the tier 3 minerals to be able to get the higher level processor. I don't need to worry about sort of dismantling and rebuilding everything. And I think that's true for everything but this level 1 processor. So yes, we have just enough power to run all this stuff, which is good. We're going to be churning out some tier 3 minerals before too long. And so once I'm going to turn off the input module for a second. And okay, so we've cleared out the processor, so we can ditch the employee module for a second. We'll dismantle this one. This is because we've got 50 tier 3 minerals to kick around. I'm also going to invest in some waste receptacles. These are going to get tied up really quick, but you gotta work with them. Okay, and there's our level 1. So once this gets built, we'll be in good shape. So What am I going to do with these tier 3 minerals? Well, this is the point where I would start thinking about doing things like building fuel turbines, which cost 200 mineral CUs. The other thing that's currently been overlooked by the current plan is I don't have isotope refining. Now, part of that is intentional. I do want to get a nice sort of start in terms of my minerals before I start ramping up the isotope side of the equation. But I can at least kind of put down the foundations for these later additions. So this is going to need power, and then we'll put a receptacle for the isotopes. So we're going to turn off the isotope input module for the time being. And eventually we're going to build some better infrastructure as far as the like the power and that's concerned. But I'm actually going to redirect my attention to this side, and I'm going to build something closer to what my ideal is. So we're going to start by putting down a better fuel turbine. We can dismantle that one when the time comes.
Founder, I don't have anything to show you right now. You see, research is not a linear job. In waste, for instance, Mr. Skull can tell you exactly how much he has burnt in a day. Research is often more horizontal than vertical in progress. Then there's the fact that working quickly in waste might only result in the death of a few employees and possibly citizens who live in polluted areas. But making a mistake in our research could set us back for months. Most people can be replaced, but the work of my brilliant mind and several assistants cannot be reproduced. So, think about your priorities and who you feel comfortable rushing. Will that be all, Founder?
So I'm demolishing all this stuff so I can basically put a big... I'm actually going to run into some limitations here. Let's see if we can build it in time. So I'm basically going to build a big... Nope, I gotta kill it all. All right. We are going to have a big brownout in a second. I might be able to avoid it with some fancy footwork. No. I really like that impression of Vern's skull. Alright, so we're just going to shut everything down for a little bit. Not ideal. But basically, now that I've got the tier 3 minerals, I can start building some of the, like, the deluxe versions of everything. So it's a nice little chance for me to... yeah. I think these I want to do out of tier 5, so we can afford to dismantle these as well. If everything's shut down, then it's like, okay, I'll just take the hit on productivity, and we'll learn to live with it. Once everything's built, I'm also going to demolish these waste receptacles and transfer the waste somewhere else. That's definitely something for down the road. So one thing I'm a bit worried about, I'm actually going to make this storage container the higher priority. And that's because if we don't have places to store all of the obstacles to construction, then we're going to be waiting even longer for everything to get built. Okay, we'll see if this works. So right now this is just packing the rest of the headquarters up with batteries and various types of storage. So I think I put a fuel tank. Yeah, so fuel tank works here. And then I think I usually just stuff this full of batteries. Yeah, so a little something like that. Okay, there we go. So the headquarters, other than the waste receptacles, have basically been filled up. We've got quite a bit of power to work with over the 2 grids. So that does mean I can sort of afford to put a few more, to turn a few more things on. I did forget to set this as a tier 3 isotope recipient. But essentially what's going to be happening now is all these resources that I picked up are going to be refined to sort of their peak level. So now I can start thinking about how I'm going to either get more of those red artifacts that we were talking about to be able to bring in migrants, or right now I just want to think about, like, what am I going to use this energy for? So one thing we're not generating at the moment is credits. So I want to start getting to work on that. The tier 3 minerals will more or less figure themselves out at this point. Yeah, the soundtrack is great. It's Danny Baranowski, who probably is well known for Crypt of the Necrodancer, which is also a Brace Yourself game, as well as Super Meat Boy. Does this game include any way to export layout blueprints and share them with other players? The best way to do that, honestly, would be photo mode. Which is beautiful, and I have spent many an hour on stream playing with photo mode. There is a blueprint system, but not one that you can share with other players, so far as I can tell. There might be some magic you can do inside of the different files, because like apparently with Unreal, I think you can mess around with like a pack file or whatever and make some changes. But I don't believe they've implemented a way to sort of transmit your designs. Okay, I think I'm going to go artifact hunting. So what I'm going to focus on right now are sort of claims which have a fairly high concentration of artifacts. Now this does mean that I may not actually, I'm getting a little shy on isotopes, so maybe we'll claim one more patch and get someone working that. But for the rest of it, actually the other thing I might, well, I would have done under other circumstances would be to claim these ruins. So you just saw here the Zethane emissions. The map's going to look a little bit different, but the natural events are not always ones that hurt you. In this case, we're actually getting some extra fuel from the crevices. Of course, I don't have any fuel extractors near them, so the effect is not quite as big. So 3 artifacts for 20 here. So it's not as good as this ruin, but still not a bad return on artifacts. I just want to see if there's better opportunities. So obviously 4 is better here, and it costs the same amount. I'm going to ignore the inert ruins for now, because generally I want to hang on to them and if I can put them to use, that's usually my preference. So I'm kind of taking the low-hanging fruit here as far as these artifacts are concerned, and any surplus. So yeah, so in this case we're done. But this is a chance for me now to unlock the starport. So again, we get more influence. So actually we we get influence by having more people come in. So that's going to be really important for me in terms of just really wanting to make sure I have lots and lots of housing. All right, so my tier 2 isotopes are full. That does not make any sense. Yes, it does, because I forgot to give it a place to go in the storage container. So that's going to back up all the production along this line.
Hey, Founder. Fun fact. Zethane, that weird gas you're making fuel out of, it comes from sinkholes and crevices. There's way more pouring out of sinkholes and crevices, but there's a lot more crevices, for whatever reason. The zethane eventually spreads out across Titan's landscape, but it's way better to just put your fabricators near a zethane source.
I'll also unlock council communications. I don't think I want to do the trading quite yet, but it's an option. Okay, so I can build my other factory. So again, this is the same sort of pattern that I've had before in terms of building, building out a factory like this. Now, again, it's worth remembering I only have 17 energy to work with, and on top of that, it's technically 16 because I am at some point going to want to turn on this isotope input module. But again, it just kind of depends on how things play out.
Oh, hey, Founder. Did I tell you about the transmutation and fabrication efficiency factor? We call it TFAP for short. Catchy, right? Basically, fuel fabricators convert more fuel per minute in areas where the zethane is rich. The lower the level of zethane gets, the less fuel you generate. It has to do with the way the rods inside the fabricators react to the density of zethane in the air, and actually, I just remembered I'm the only one who cares about this stuff. Hey, Founder. The grid is looking great. I'll let you know if I spot any issues in the future.
Greetings, Founder. So glad to finally meet you. I'm Lyle Visk, your head of human assets. Everyone here in the human assets office has just been aching to get on a conference call with you. Our philosophy? Eliminate cost centers and build human efficiency. We transform people from a human resource into a monetary resource.
Founder, you can utilize employee modules to increase processing speeds in your factory or your headquarters. Processing is the only refinement stage that can be altered this way. You can add as many employee modules as you like, as long as you have the employees to operate them.
Well, technically in the space.
There are a few rules when it comes to spending resources, Founder. The most important rule is that you cannot mix and match different tiers of resources. All must be from the same tier. Additionally, you will not be reimbursed any surplus resource value when constructing. Strive for economical construction efforts and avoid wasting your purest resources on trivial tasks. Founder, you have the option to choose which tier of resource you wish to use for any construction job. In the top bar, click on either minerals or isotopes to cycle through the available tiers. Whichever tier is currently selected will be the tier used for any construction orders you issue. But remember, there are no returns on any unused value, so keep an eye on which tier you have selected. Say, Founder, did you know you can select and destroy any piles of rock in your city, just like ruins? Just be sure you have somewhere to put the waste they often produce.
So at this point, I'm going to enable the isotope upgrading, and this is because I'm not really going to build a lot more. So there are going to be a few things that I need to build using tier 2 isotopes, but I'm going to want to start working on upgrading my headquarters, and that's going to require 27 in terms of isotope CUs. So I'd like to move up to 3 tier 3 before too long. In the meantime, like I said, we've got 16 power to work with, and I do have my patented work from home set up. So what I do here is I take a habitat pod, and I build an energy bridge and a relay. And then across the habitat pod, which houses 2 citizens. So citizens are different from the employees I've been working with. Citizens are how you earn credits. So then I stick a relay here. So basically all of these things cost a little, so it's about 4 and 2, but like basically the idea here is that I kind of consider anything 5 and below, well, anything between like 2 and 5 to be ideal for tier 2s, because again, you're giving up 1 mineral object instead of multiple mineral objects. So in this case, like what I've built here will house 4 citizens who have the shortest possible distance from their job. And what I'll do is, in addition to sort of building out the middle here, I'm going to build out the outer ring as well. Now I'm going to slightly adjust my production priorities. So here, I really need more tier 2 minerals than I need tier 3. So we're going to turn off the input for minerals for now. Now that's going to mean a bit of a surplus as far as tier 3 isotopes are concerned. I'm basically just going to have to learn to live with that. So this will take a little while to sort of process through, but that's what I got. Okay, so we've got the living space for 4 people. Let's see. Okay, so this has 19 potential citizens. So as the game introduced, essentially what you're paying for is you're using your influence, you're paying the influence currency to redirect a ship towards your startup. And so I do need to make sure I have enough space. Once we find a ship that can fit my city, we'll add them in, and that'll start bringing the income up. We'll need at least 320 to be able to pay for our workers. And then, of course, I want to generate more than that because credits are going to be how I wind up buying more buildings to work with. So I was okay running without the citizens for a while because I didn't really have need for the credits, but we are going to need them for a number of reasons. And at this point, because I've more or less covered my energy needs for the immediate future, I do kind of want to get on top of using this energy for generating resources I need. So the Flammarian Ice, 3 citizens. Oh, but insufficient spaceport storage. And how much you want to bet? Yep, I need credits for that. So unfortunately, this is the cost of the extra waste. It's probably going to be quite difficult for me to actually bring people in now that I think of it. Sold as pure AI ships. Unfortunately for Flammarian, refitting one for a human crew is cheaper than the AI subscription. Okay, well, we've got a bunch of minerals here, so we can at least give ourselves some more options in terms of the types of ships that we bring in. So I'm going to start building the habitat pods to begin with, because even if you don't have a job for the people, they can still migrate. So my workers will eventually figure that out. And of course, what I might do in other circumstances would be just speed things up to let it run through. But I actually don't mind taking the time to sort of think things through. Oh, this is good. So we gained, this is different from how the game normally works. This is specifically the bonus that I went for. So we were able to get four migrants specifically added to the setup. Now, of course, we're going to have room for another 4 before too long. But at the very least, we can get the ball rolling on this new setup. And actually, if I think about power, so basically one little cluster. So again, a habitat pod's going to house 2 workers, 2 citizens, and then each monetization station will house 1 citizen for a job. So that's a total of 3 energy that's going to be used. So we have monetization station, habitat pod, monetization station. So that's 3. Monetization, habitat, monetization. Okay, I think it's 6, 12. Okay, so we don't have enough energy to do the full design, but we'll be close. And you can kind of see why I like this particular design. It generates a nice little ring of relays to power the outer ring. But again, it doesn't compromise on that ideal of keeping workers as close to their jobs as possible. So there's the minimum commute time to earn cash. By the way, I know there's a few of you who like some other story driven games that I've done. So there is actually a whole backstory for all of this that's present in the codices. I do want to try and make a little bit of progress towards some of the goals, so I won't read them right now, but there is there's a specific idea in terms of what the monetization station is, like what that work entails. And yeah, so here it says generates credits quickly by hiring idle citizens to watch ads, but there's a little more detail offered in the codex entries. Okay, so we're full up on waste. That's something I'm going to have to keep an eye on. One thing I might be able to do, which I'm... Oh. To be honest, I'm a little reluctant to do this, but we can let the waste receptacles sort of start to encroach on the rest of the factory levels. Oh, we're full up on... Okay, I was not expecting us to be full up on tier 3 minerals. That's a bit inconvenient, but that does actually help me out with my fuel situation. So we'll start... I can't put one down here because of the waste. What I can do is I can take that fuel turbine that I started with. This is the first big building that I'm building that's not a factory. So I'm building the fuel turbine right beside the crevice. The other thing about this game is that there is sort of a desirability in terms of like different regions. So the council hall and the spaceport tend to generate sort of negative livability penalties, as do fuel turbines and being next to Zethane. So generally I try to divide things in such a way that like people aren't too close to the things that will be generating that kind of ideally I'm going to have people away from like the negative buildings, and in this case, because the council hall is already something that produces bad vibes, I'm okay kind of building a fuel turbine here. Also, it just conveniently uses up all these tier 3 minerals that were sort of sitting around doing nothing. So hopefully that means, in fact, we can give this a name. So I believe you can name everything, including the empty empty plot. You could name this empty plot Fred if you really wanted. You cannot rename council the council hall, apparently. Oh, this is interesting. So I would get... So I'm probably going to pay for this because it's going to take up space in the spaceport, but I actually get influence by claiming minerals. That's really interesting. It's not something I want to take advantage of too much because I don't have the money yet to be able to make the most of that, but it's still a very intriguing possibility. Okay, so I want to be mindful of my energy. So in this case, I can afford to build exactly one more cluster. Like that. And so the other two parts are going to have to wait. Now, of course, we don't have people... We actually don't have people to occupy these yet. If I wanted, I could actually just turn this all off, but why would I do that? Okay, now this is a little more complicated to deal with. Apparently we're out of space for... Well, okay, the waste isn't as bad. Well, we got the 27 isotopes that we wanted, so we will now upgrade the Cadence Group HQ. So that's going to cause a little bit of chaos as far as... so when this building gets upgraded, it's going to cause a bit of chaos as far as where, like, everybody's... where all the power comes from. But the consequence is going to be that the borders move out by 1 unit. Now, it would be wonderful if I could upgrade it to the 3rd tier, but that is actually a fairly expensive proposition. So what I'll probably do is, once we've extended the range out by 1 unit, I'm going to start building the smokestack, because it's really clear that we've got a lot of waste and we don't have a plan for dealing with it. In fact, let's introduce a few more people.
Oh, hey there, Founder? Right. They told me you'd be checking in soon. I'm Vern Skull, your waste management officer. I think that title is pretty reductive, but yeah, I'm the one who moves the waste around. You make the trash, I move the trash. You dump the trash, I burn the trash. It's a beautiful partnership. And boy, you do have a lot of trash piling up around your city, don't you? No worries yet, though. We'll handle it later.
So later is coming pretty soon, but being able to build the build the smokestack far away from the residential area is generally good. So it's also kind of nice that the wind has been moving away from this this residential area. Whether it stays that way, I don't know, but it's kind of nice to know that that's a possibility. Okay, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do on the waste front there, but at the very least I can build out the rest of the setup. Okay, not enough living space. Wait, what? Oh, because of the power. Okay, so I'm actually just going to wait a minute while the upgrade finishes. So we'll see the power restored. Okay, so let's bring in the 8 first. And then I know I'm going to have enough power for the rest of this design, so we're actually going to go kind of nuts and build the rest as quickly as we can. So whether or not we build these in time to take advantage of these ships, actually what I can do is, it's already being worked on, make the habitat pods the priority. And then on the second floor, I can build additional generators. Now we're going to need fuel for that, but of course we've built the fuel turbine. It's probably going to take a while before we find a ship with one person on it, but we'll be making a decent return. In fact, at this point, I think there is a little bit of sense in turning the input module back on.
Founder, I'm not much in the mood to talk today. You see, I'm a bit out of sorts from yet another lawsuit driven by my dear old sister. Absolutely convinced she is that she has some claims over my inventions. Nonsense! As you can imagine, you've seen my work, and Einar Pier is far too discerning to have asked me here without recognizing my talent. You see it too, don't you, Founder? Not of course that it matters. I'm confident in my own abilities. But if you do happen to hear any rumors about me, I ask that you defend my honor. I wouldn't want the reputation of your venerable institution besmirched by tall tales you were lax in crushing. Would you?
All right, so this is a bit of a tough spot to be in right now. Now, I could probably loosen up a little bit on some of the restrictions on where different resources are going, but right now, what's happening is I have an isotopes module. Like right now, the minerals have been getting a little too much priority. I'm going to shut this off just so that the isotopes can get fed. What's basically happening right now is that I need this one isotope to go away, and we've never quite had the space for the game to I've never quite had the space for it to get put away. So in this case, we're going to focus on isotopes for a little while. Then I'm going to turn the input module back on, and everything should balance out. Now, one of the reasons why I'm doing that right now is I need this fuel turbine to go online. It says only using isotopes 1. I don't think that's true. Yeah, so basically I need this fuel turbine up and running, otherwise I don't have the fuel to be able to sustain the full work from home setup. Now we're at 99 influence, so our cap is 100. So in this case, I'm just going to go grab some more artifacts. I'm going to be a little less discerning. is because at this point here, it's about clearing out the influence. The other thing that I can do is, remember how I said upgrading the HQ gives me extra range, so there's now more ruins for me to check out. So I'm going to get that done really quick. So again, the wind's been pretty consistently blowing down like this. So one argument against building the smokestack here, of course, is that even though there might be otherwise ideal conditions, the problem is that the effects are going to blow straight on my what am I trying to say? My residential areas, and I'd rather not have to replace the dead workers. So we can build the smokestack downwind once I have the tier 3 resources, which I'm probably actually going to have a few of. Yep, we're ready to go there. It is, however, going to need a energy pylon. So we've been pretty lucky so far with the this extended relay here. If I wanted, I could build a relay here, but that's probably going to get in the way of a road. So my best option right now... See, I already own this land, but it doesn't quite touch the smokestack. Well, you know what? We don't have a road, so let's start with this, and I can always change things around later. And one thing I'm going to do is set this to a priority. Hopefully that will give them a little bit more of a sense of urgency as far as constructing the as far as getting the fuel turbine up is concerned. So again, we're really just trying to clear out the isotope 1, which I think we can kind of see there. I mean, the other thing I could try and do is cancel it. So it is a little curious to me that we've got people picking up isotope. Like, clearly... Actually, this shouldn't be a problem, if I'm thinking straight. Oh, wow, I don't have any tier 2 minerals. Yikes. Okay. Well, it's not the end of the world to build a big one. Clearly we're running out of space for things, so... Okay, so smokestack's a new building. It's hooked up to the power grid, but of course we're really draining batteries now, and we're out of fuel. So let's get somebody in this thing as quickly as we can and start burning trash. I'm hoping this thing gets built pretty darn quick. There we go. In the meantime, let's hop up. Now this is going to continue to sort of savage my my fuel, but this is just a nice little array of energy that I can put down. And then normally what I do here is I fill this as much as I can with batteries. But I don't think I have the tier 2 minerals to do that right now. Now the thing I'm most worried about here is that if I cancel this construction, I don't actually have the tier 3 minerals to be able to pull this off. So I'm going to hope that I'm just being impatient and that somebody's going to come and pick up that isotope now that I built. Yes, there we go. Okay. So we should be good before the batteries drain out. And as you can see, our cash flows working out quite nicely. We're going to be above 1,000 at the end of the day. In fact, the salary is going to be due in about 40 seconds. So if I want, I can buy another building. The interesting question, of course, is there like something I need, or is there something that I want? I actually think I wasn't originally going to build this, but I actually think the transport hub might make a lot of sense right now. Because that just gives me the opportunity to drive the waste directly to the smokestack. And that's going to involve a little finesse in terms of I'm probably going to want to change where I put the energy pylon, but I'm okay. I'm okay sort of working around that. And we're going to need to wait till we have the minerals for it anyway, so if I want to upgrade HQ, that's going to require 108, so let's not get any expectations as to when that's going to happen. For the rest, I think we're just going to turn everything on. And where's my fuel turbine? Ah, it's built, I just need to give it an employee. Okay, so it was a little rocky. There's a bunch of stuff that went offline as a result, but we are going to have that fuel turbine up. Excuse me. And basically production's going to be back on track. So what I probably want to be considering now, so we'll grab... In this case, I'll just use my influence to kind of grab whatever remaining ruins, you know, are sort of inexpensive. I don't even really care what they have at this point, too, because this is actually kind of helpful, just because it's tucked away. But yeah, this is mostly just me kind of clearing out the rest of it. I think at some point I am going to activate these inert ruins for the pollution absorption and such. I just need a slightly better idea in terms of where I'm going to lay everything out. I also, because our range is extended, I've actually got some decent intel in terms of what's available to me. So there's an isotope mine on this side and a mineral mine on this side. So this is going to make pollution a little complicated to deal with. There's actually two arguments in terms of this pollution absorption. So the problem with absorbing pollution is that it does get in the way of absorbing, or it does also absorb zethane. Now, one thing I could try and do is actually build the fuel turbine here. And what's kind of nice is that any pollution that does make its way over to this kind of this residential building, well, there's the absorption from both the zethane, which reduces the livability, but also the dust from the mines, which counts as air pollution. So that's something that, you know, might help. It occurred to me I probably want to have someone dedicated to. Okay, so we'll clean waste, supply smokestacks. I don't think we have enough workers to dedicate to the other. Things. But yeah, I definitely wanted to make sure that I've got people working on I want people working on the waste. Okay, let's have a chat with some of my advisors.
Ah, Founder! I've been meaning to talk to you about conversion capsules. It's where Titan's industries transform obedient citizens into even more obedient employees. We market the procedure as training, but the process is really more technical, and the effects are permanent. Once they've gone through conversion, your employees will be able to work basically forever, without breaks or sleep. Now, there may be some long-term consequences that medical science isn't currently aware of, but it is a voluntary process, so your conscience is clear.
So we'll sit here and wait to see what the conversion process looks like, because this is always a fun and little animation.
Founder, I can see that you've built your conversion capsule, so you're more than ready to convert citizens into employees. Start by selecting one of your conversion capsules. This is where you'll pay for new employees. Give it a try now. Your citizens are very eager to sign up for conversion.
So all this waste is being generated from the processors. There is someone dedicated on cleanup now, but I think they're gonna deal with the waste in the order in which it was generated. Okay, here we go. So here is our citizen. They do not have a name. Maybe that's because they're on their way to conversion. But we go in. Have a nap. And you have a worker who's ready to clean up their own sick. So you do consume as citizen when you do that. So for me, this is kind of nice because I wind up getting more influence as a result of bringing in more migrants. But of course, I also don't quite have, like, it does take a while for all this stuff to happen. So I am doing a fairly decent job of building up the minerals. So I think, let's say I'm going to move the energy pylon over just by one. I'm going to build... I'd love to double up the transport hub, but I don't think I'm going to be able to pull it off right away. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I gotta wait on the minerals anyway, but what I want to do here is basically draw out a road to let a truck go directly from the workshop to the smokestack and basically improve the speed at which waste is dealt with. I'm always just keeping an eye on that threat level, because one thing I am also going to want to do is build a ship to defend myself. But if I can, you know, lay out the city in a nice way that lets me kind of, you know, just have everything in its place. Particularly if I can get a roadway to where the shipyard goes. So like if I could clear out this isotopes patch, that would almost be ideal, because then I can just put a nice little shipyard in this area, and then have the road just branch off. I think the other thing I can do is start claiming some of these ruins. You know what? Let's take care of the isotope patch first. Okay, so I'm actually gonna speed things up for this, because right now we're just gonna get people to build the energy pylon to power the smokestack, build the transport hub, build the road, and claim. Like right now, a lot of the things that I'm doing are are for isotopes. Okay, let's do a few more things.
Hello, Founder. I wanted to talk to you about the salary scheme for your employees. The salary is paid at the end of the day on Titan every day. I'm sure you're wondering why employees even need a salary, especially given conversion, right? Well, it's sent to their families, and the workers will receive it once they've woken from their contract.
Hello, the
Such
Eyes
a
of Sin.
deep slumber, it'll be like waking from a long nap. Truth be told, though, very few employees make it to the end of their contract. Really makes their salary a bit of a waste of money, don't you think?
For those of you who are not familiar with the Eyes of Sin, they are responsible for the lovely emotes that you get on the channel if you are a subscriber. Also, if you're not a subscriber but you have been earning channel points, you can use the channel points to unlock a specific emote or just a random one for a little bit less. Now, the Eyes of Sin does do art for a living, and it's one of the reasons. So I know there's a way of crediting people for art, and I haven't quite figured it out yet. But if you would like me to properly give you like the Twitch credit for the emotes, Sin, let me know, and I will work on that. But on top of the fact that Eyes of Sin does occasionally stream, and again, one of the reasons why I like taking the time to highlight her broadcast is that it's a little bit like Olaf. If it's a once in a while event, chances are you're not going to just be randomly clicking on their name. But if you're following, you'll see that they're up. But the Eyes of Sin is obviously quite a talented artist and does make a living doing this. And so relies on commissions as well as coffee. So for those of you, first of all, who just want to see their stuff, let me see if I can get this up. Sorry, it's a lot harder to pretend that I'm focusing on the game for this one because it automatically pauses, but I think I've got... Yeah, so this is the Eyes of Sin's coffee page. I think this would be the most up-to-date art that they've done. This is also a way that you can directly support the Eyes of Sin if you have the means and the interest in doing so. There is the old Tumblr account as well, which has got some more of the art. But I'll also just take a quick second here and say that if you want to follow their work, or if you know somebody who is looking for commissions, or looking for some more artwork, particularly emotes, you can contact Eyes of Sin using Twitter. And so I do want to take the time to sort of, number one, get all the news out, right? Because even I realize that a very small fraction of the viewers are going to, like, obviously there's only a limited number of people who are going to be in the position or have the interest in hiring Sin for work. And that's fine, right? It's a little bit like when I talk about the careers section on the Brace Yourself website. For the majority of people watching, that's not going to be relevant, but there might be one person who actually really does want to do that and is equipped to do that. And so in this particular case, I sort of feel I feel kind of a similar impulse when it comes to the Eyes of Sin. I don't necessarily have, this world-shaping outreach. I don't necessarily have like an unstoppable audience or anything like that. But for those of you who may know someone, I mean, obviously, people watch more than one channel. And if you happen to know someone who's looking, or maybe if you're looking yourself, I obviously will speak very highly of the person who does all of the emotes for me. I could tell you about the personality too, but I'll just talk about the emote. Sin is somebody who I've also had gotten a chance. Haven't met them, but I have had a chance to interact with off of broadcast. Well, when they make time. I also suspect things are very busy, so I don't always get to say hi as much as I'd like. Okay, our transport hub's almost done. So what we can do here is... So again, the intention here was to build a roadway. Now, this is not necessarily the best use of my minerals right now, but it costs 20 CUs, so I am going to use the tier 3s. And in this case, I am going to draw it up to the workshop. Now, I'm a little surprised in terms of how much power that took. So I got caught flat-footed. And I don't actually have an easy answer for that right now. So what I'm going to do is build another power generator. And we can just cram one into the side here because it gets covered by this relay. I hope you're doing well, Isofson. So next little batch of things. So I'm gonna occasionally just keep adding more workers as I can. If I get a chance to add, if I get a chance to sort of replenish my citizens, I will as well. But in this case, we'll just kind of turn things over, and slowly I'm going to start filing in some of these inert ruins as I can. I don't think pollution's that big of a problem. We can see that on the citizen health. But that may change once the highway gets built. Oh, nice. I hope the dog was well behaved, or that you were particularly forceful. Forceful? Authoritative? Sorry, trying to think of the right way to phrase it. Yeah, so we're already working on this isotope patch. I think I am going to go for the energy storage. Sensor range is kind of tempting as well. But yeah, for the time being, I'll settle for these. Now, I'd love to buy up some trucks as well. Actually, I can afford one. One thing I'm trying to do is make sure that I keep my income above 1,000. It might drop down because I'm converting this individual, so I'm going down the wage. I'm going down the income I'm generating goes down by the amount that they would be getting from working their job, and then I'm also up the cost of an employee. So this might be a little tricky, but as always, we'll see. Hang on. I really thought that this was... Alright. Well, I can still manage it. It's just not quite as tidy. I guess I can put another waste receptacle down here as well. Okay, so 72 is a point where I'm starting to think like we really need to start taking the rebels seriously. Oh, that's funny. I gotta put a relay down. I actually don't know which one makes more sense. This one gets me more artifacts, so... Yeah, all of these are missing missing pylons. Okay. Not ideal, but how are we for... Oof, we don't really have that much in terms of tier 3 isotopes. Again, always on the hunt for any new Any new citizens I can bring in? So we're not necessarily up a new building every turn until we can start getting some more citizens, but I still think it's worth it. I will buy one more truck just because I can afford it. But yeah, right now I kind of want as many bodies running around, sort of doing stuff as I can get, basically. When it comes to defense, we need to make sure we've got a ton of tier 2 and tier 3 minerals. Now that's a tough one. I think I'm going to turn off the isotope refining for the next little while.
Ah, Founder, for once you have caught me at an opportune time. You see, I was just examining some artifacts you brought me and marveling at their scorch marks. We have run several tests now, and it seems something very hot would be needed to reproduce these burns. I have a few theories, but it is far too early to say for certain. Only a fool makes predictions without all the evidence. But if you were to push me, I would hazard a guess that it may be our very own micro-sun. Perhaps there was a time when it burned much hotter than it does today. And if that is the case, then it opens up an interesting new question of how some of the burnt artifacts were found outside of the orbital pathway. Could it be that the micro-sun was moved some millennia ago? That would be rather sexy, wouldn't it? But alas, I think it is much more likely these artifacts were moved during storms, or even by human hands. Perhaps by one of those pesky ruin runners. Still, I will keep investigating and let you know if I turn over any proverbial stones.
So there are going to be some ways that I change these energy pylons over time. So one thing I'm thinking of doing is putting an energy pylon right in the middle here and then upgrading it twice. That may not get me the range I need for the smokestack, but it'll at least cover the transport. But for the time being, I'm going to stick with these smaller ones. The key right now is to get the shipyard built. So that's going to require the 200 mineral CUs. And then on top of that, I'm going to actually need the minerals to be able to build a ship. That's sort of phase 2 of the plan. But for now, I'm going to settle for building some more workers. So one of the reasons why I decided to work with the battery now, well, the tank is kind of nice as well. The reason why I chose to work with all this stuff now is that I'm generating a surplus, and there's probably going to be a point where I right now it's nice to just get that level up in general. I may find myself in a situation where I need to run a bit of an energy deficit. In fact, I suspect adding the shipyard's going to do that. So in this case, just being able to, have a big stockpile to work from, work. The long-term plan, I think, is going to be I will build a power generator here, and then maybe a defensive turret here. Or I could do it the other way around, power generator here and defensive turret here. I'm not 100% sure which one makes more sense. But just because of where we're at on the rebel threat level, and the fact that it is a little more helpful for me to have that shipyard down, I'm going to start with a shipyard and then move into something else.
Founder, allow me to paint a picture of the average citizen's day cycle. To start the day, citizens wake up and go to work to earn you some credits. Afterwards, they have a period of free time to do as they wish. Once they've tired out, they'll return to their habitat pods to rest for the next day of work. Rinse and repeat. Such predictable beings. It's quite fascinating, really.
So we're starting to get a little low in terms of how much we generate per day. But I can still work with this. And we are 2 isotopes away from... Oh, cool. So we can add another 6 bodies. That's going to improve our the rate at which we're gaining income. How often has this been used? Normally it keeps track of how often... I thought it said... I could have sworn there was a point where it said like how often trucks were being used. In any case, it does look like there's 2 in use right now. I was hoping to see the exhaust that they were referring to earlier, but oh, there they are. Presumably they're going to head to the... Nope, maybe not. Okay, well, let's... We'll keep with the routine. We want to convert as many people as we can. We are 1 isotope away from getting what we need. Well, clearing out what we need. I can probably start getting reckless with my influence again, but I won't. So we are 1 employee away from maxing it out. One thing I'll be able to do after is turn off the conversion center, which is going to free up a bit of power for the shipyard. It's probably not enough to like fully cover it, but it's a start. And you, sir. There we go. All right. So, same story as before. The only difference is I'm going to use a tier 3 isotope for this one. And the logic is more or less the same as the other cases. So, it's 4 isotope CUs. So if I use isotope 2s, that means I give up 2 isotope units. If I give up an isotope 3, then I just give up the 1. That is not going to happen anytime soon. I mean, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, there should just be a trail of trucks running through on these smokestacks. But I'm going to focus on military matters first. Excuse me. It'll probably be... I'm going to need at least a ship. Then we'll go for a proper power plant. And I might even make another work from home setup. Okay, we're max employees. So again, we'll wait for the... I mean, to a certain point, it's also going to make sense to expand out to be able to claim these mines. I suspect I'm going to have to go, like, out and around to get this mine. We could probably deal with a road to the isotope mine. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a pain. Okay, let's tuck away some more waste in different spots. So this is going to be 80 influence. I don't think it would hurt to save up. So we've got 88 tier 1 minerals, we've got 39 tier 1 isotopes. Actually, there's a good argument for me to focus a lot on tier 2s for the time being. So maybe we'll go a little isotope focus for the next little while. Yeah, so I'm just going to watch this all happen. And no place for isotope 1, huh? Well, that's probably just because I made this available for waste, so that's really on me. Okay, that's going to block things, so that's a non-starter. Well, I guess I just go for the smaller. This is not my ideal setup here. There's other things I'd like to see happen, but for now, we are going to be able to build that shipyard, and not a moment too soon. So we should expect to see the energy fall. That's, again, something I can live with once I get the ship built. That's actually quite a bit larger than I was thinking it was going to be, but that's fine. In some circumstances, I would buy a better body. What I'll do here is just load up the Harpagus and roll with it. Now, there is an important lesson that I learned last time, which is I can't just leave the engines to these two areas. I'm going to have to add at least one more that can be accessed sort of by the surrounding area. Yeah, we'll see. It kind of depends on what I can build in the 16% I have available. So, loss of influence should probably drop the rebel threat by a bit, but it also, the acquiring a number of resources will also probably offset. Yeah, no, that number's not going down, so, well, sort of went down. But in this case, just being able to claim some extra high-quality resources at this particular moment is very helpful. And like I said, I will eventually build a power plant to be able to sort of get a better handle on what's going on with my power. But the most important thing to me right now is making sure that the shipyard is the shipyard's running and that it's able to get the ship built as quickly as possible. Nope. Okay, so we're gonna play a little bit more Tetris. So for those of you who are new to the game and are still kind of hanging around, this is kind of a neat example about what I think makes Industries of Titan kind of special. So if you notice, we've sort of had we've done similar things a few times over. So like building a factory is in many ways quite similar to building a ship, and you have this fun little Tetris game that you play to try and sort of get the get an edge, get an angle. In fact, that's kind of going to be what I'm doing here. So again, I need to make sure that there's this empty area around. Now, I did say I was going to focus on tier 2s, but I actually need some more tier 3s, it turns out. So we're going to go back to the workshop and make some adjustments. Okay. I think I gotta put it here. That doesn't give enough power. That doesn't give power to the, well, this kind of works. Nope. I'm not building that out of tier 1s, though. Well, I submitted the bug report, but it's not... I don't give, like, an email with the bug reports or anything like that. So I personally am not expecting to hear back, directly, and I would assume that probably it'll be in a future patch. If there is a change that's brought on by that, I suspect we will see that in future patch notes. I don't know if you saw the update, Immortal Velity, but the game is kind of shifting to a similar, sort of similar release schedule to Phantom Brigade, which is because it is so close to release, they're going to move past monthly release schedule and instead work on, work on what they basically. There will still be monthly updates, but there will not necessarily be a release associated with the update. So excuse me. But yeah, like, I don't know. I'm sure it'll be addressed one way or the other. So one thing I'm waiting on right now is just these tier 3 minerals. I'm a little worried about the power situation because I can't build this all in one go. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn the shipyard off, which I don't like doing, but I'm also not building anything right now. So we'll build up our cash reserves. We'll let the energy go by. We've got some spare space for more workers, so we'll convert them. We have actually wound up with a nice, tidy workspace, which I wasn't expecting. It does look like we're getting a fairly decent little stack of tier 3s. I'm hoping we get some tier 2s sort of to match. But at this point, beggars can't be choosers, so... I think what I'm going to do... it's 10 o'clock. I'll fast forward for a bit. This is mostly just to charge up the batteries a bit. Once we're on the leisure, kind of the leisure cycle, I can turn off Cadence's hovel for a bit. Yeah, so long as there's a somewhat balanced approach. Like, as long as we're not dipping too far into the tier 2s, I think we should be fine with the ship that we want to build.
Hello, Founder. Did you know that every living space is evaluated for its living quality? There are quite a few factors when assessing the livability of a space. Positive factors are proximity to jobs, security, and other amenities. Negative factors are proximity to pollution, waste, and other threats and hazards. Give that some consideration when planning your city. Citizens really do prefer residing in high livability areas.
Okay, so we're going to turn on the shipyard for now. We're on leisure, so I can turn off the... Basically, I just turned off all the power in everybody's homes, because we need that for arms manufacture. Okay, so... Yeah, this doesn't touch what it needs to. So, gonna have to live with that. And unfortunately, I think that really limits my options in terms of where I can put batteries as well. So I can kind of tuck one away here, but everything else, it's not kind of a non-starter. Apparently I can store a lot of fuel though. Yeah, so look, I mean, this isn't an ideal ship layout for me, but it'll defend me, and that's really what I need at this point. So. So this particular model is called the Loquacious Adder, but I'm calling the overall design the Acceptable. It was the best available. All right. So I could start building another one of these things, but I'm gonna settle for disabling the shipyard to charge up the batteries. I'm disabling everything on this ship that needs power right now, just so I can get the batteries charged. And then I'm gonna move. Let's move you over here. So essentially, we're just gonna... I'm not eager for the rebels to show up, but we'll be ready for them when they do, is sort of the idea here. Okay. So, we do have 189, so I wasn't expecting this, but we can actually upgrade that headquarters to Tier 3. This is good, because it does mean I'm able to make a couple of other improvements to the smokestack. Namely, double it up. Now, I might be a bit short on what I can do for power, though. Nope, we're actually in good shape for the energy plant as well, so... We're gonna double you up like so. Now, that is gonna require some attention as far as the pylons are concerned, but that's where Phase 2 comes in. So if I put an energy pylon here, Yes. This is ideal, in fact. For bragging rights, I'm also going to grab this artifact patch. So this is a little bit like the other resource patches. In fact, I wonder if Xiaro is going to have something new to say to me.
Founder, a reminder that there are several patches of resource-rich land near your territory that you should make use of. Claim the land from the Council, and set an employee to work on harvesting these minerals and isotope patches.
Kind of done this a few times. But yeah, so this is going to get upgraded to sort of the top tier, and then I'm going to demolish this energy pylon and this energy pylon. Oh, actually, nuts. I'm actually off by 1. Well, off by 2. Okay, so if I built it here and I upgraded it twice, that doesn't reach where it needs to go. So if I build it here and upgrade it twice, that still doesn't cover this one. Okay, no, this is still the right spot for it. So sadly, I can spike this one, but I think I need to keep this energy pylon to keep this tank storing. Okay, so headquarters upgrade, that means that I've got some more ruins that I can check out. We also have a better idea of what it's going to take to get access to certain desirable territory. Okay. So for these guys, we're going to connect them just like we did the workshops. And this is so that we can... So there's actually a specific reason why I want to double up the efforts of an energy plant like this. And it's because just like with the fuel turbine, you actually need to have a worker working it. And so in this case, if I have 2 isolated energy plants operating, then I'm going to have 2 workers tied up to generate a smaller amount of energy. Now that does come, the advantage to that is you don't need to invest as much defending it. But it does mean you're using twice as many workers to generate a lower amount of energy. So generally for factories, like even if I said I'm gonna focus on trying to build more single cities, single units, I think it would be fair to say that in most cases I would still probably double up my power plants and my factories. Now, one cost here is going to be that I probably don't have the fuel to be able to pull this off quite yet. One thing I could try doing is get rid of some of the, demolish some of the existing power infrastructure. This might actually be an interesting check to run. So I can definitely... Oh no, I can't because I've got room for more... workers. So this thing's generating... okay, so 6 and 2, and then the big guy is generating 9 and 3. So basically it's 3 per fuel. Now what I'm curious is, what's the consumption rate for the building? So it should tell me. If I put someone in, it'll tell me. I expect the expense will be very high. So we know it'll take 24 fuel.
Founder, are you checking up on me after you heard about Gara Security trying to poach me? Well, never fear. I turned her down. After taking plenty of time to consider it, of course. I would so hate to leave you in the lurch. After all, Titan's regulations mean I can take all my research with me if I ever go, and you could do nothing about it. Oh, not that I would, of course. I'm not that kind of man, though there are many on Titan who would gladly slit your throat for a few credits. I'm not like that. As long as you keep me well stocked in artifacts and assistance, I will surely be loyal to your esteemed corporation. I would not be surprised if you decided to go after Gara security more aggressively after this. I bet they have many resources we could use if you were to destroy them. And of course, you must protect your reputation. You wouldn't want to appear weak, now would you?
Okay, so basically that generates at about 4.5 per fuel used. So it's more efficient to use these things. The question is, can I actually pull out 24 fuel worth of consumption? Because like there's not a lot here, right? This takes 2. So we've got 2, 4, 7, 8. Uh, 11. I guess we got 4 of these, so that's like 19. So yeah, even if we turned everything off, we wouldn't be able to fuel that thing. So we gotta turn the lasers on. The rebels are about to pounce. Ah yes, I should also work out some priorities for these guys. So, let's say... That seems like a decent division. Okay, let's go back to getting some more people in, and I am going to turn the work arrangement back on. So we just need to keep the shipyard off. I don't need to keep everything off for the time being. It's just I'm clearly at a point here where I've sort of gotten out over my capabilities. In this case, 27 and 7. Yes, this will cover it. So I would have preferred to spend the money on something else, but clearly being able to fill up my staff was worth it. But yeah, so the next goal is going to be to get more fuel. It's likely going to be through upgrading this fuel turbine. In fact, we might be able to get away with doing that right now. It costs 202, so yeah, we're good. And of course, we'll double it up.
If you stand for the council, you stand against us.
And Zoran Gorak. So we're now introducing the rebels. Now I could have gone hunting for some rebel territories, but in this case, I really just wanted to wait and deal with them. By the way, if you want to see a nice little detail. Oh, I don't have a defensive turret, so I can't do a call to arms. The animation in response to a call to arms is quite funny. Accurate, but funny. There's 2 ways you can know where the rebels are coming from. You can either just zoom out and see when a ship appears. Also, on the mini-map, there will be a red triangle that shows up. So, depending on the direction they're coming from, it can take a little while for them to show up, even if you get the warning. And honestly, that's a nice place to be in, because everything in this game is simulated. I'm sure you've kind of noticed. Like, the pollution will adjust as you know, in response to the wind, like we saw in the trailer. We can actually realize that by sorry. I have to eliminate the common salvation first. Pardon me. Okay, so let's focus on, first of all, on the weapon. Thing's pretty easy to deal with, it looks like. And then we'll take our second weapon and we'll focus on their life support systems. So it's a little bit like FTL here. The first Rebel ship is definitely not something that's going to inspire, you know, fear and trembling. But some of the strategies from FTL do still apply. So there's sometimes some value in taking out the enemy life support systems because they'll be damaged. You also notice in this case they don't have a med bay. So with all of this destruction that I'm bringing on their ship, I mean, they're all gonna slowly die to the lack of life support anyway. But if nothing else, even if I get sort of like lucky hits on them, let's say, they don't have any way of sort of repairing any of that damage. So this guy's toast. Or should be. There we go. And then just a matter of time for the last one. We can even try targeting them directly, but in this case, just putting the hurt on the weapon and making sure it doesn't fire preserves our our health. So one thing that's nice is even though this has a lot of health, it's actually gonna, once all the crew is gone.
Don't celebrate yet, Founder. I will be victorious next time.
A persistent nuisance, this one. Make sure you keep him contained, Founder.
Yeah, so it used to be that even if you took out the entire crew, you'd still need to destroy the ship. In this case, taking out the crew is sufficient for automatically destroying the ship. I think in the past there might have been some plans for like boarding and like taking over ships, but I don't believe. I think that was like on the nice to have list. I don't think that there are actual plans for that being in the game. Although again, I don't. Also, it's important to remember we don't really know what sort of the post-release life for this game is going to be like. Like obviously, city builders have been very good for, you know, getting lots of DLC, right? Like, and it generally this sort of stuff makes sense. Like city builders are fun for having more buildings. Being able to build more buildings, being able to do more stuff is generally fun to do. It's something, you know, it's something that sort of naturally fits the style of game that Brace Yourself has made. But I'm also going to assume that they're probably not going to make DLC for the game if it doesn't sell. Like I don't know what the sales for the game are/were after it came on Steam or even when it was on Epic. I'm hoping it sold well because I think it's a really, really good game. But I suspect 1.0 will probably be the time where we figure out exactly what the public's feelings about it are. But I think I'm actually going to have to wrap it up here because I have hit my usual time. It's nice to at least get the first run of Rebels in. I'll maybe try and explain what my next few steps are going to be in the game. But like I said, I do have some work stuff that I need to get through, and so I'm a little reluctant to. Oh, actually, we can afford to turn on this energy plant now. We've got 37 fuel from upgrading this fuel turbine. But yeah, I do like I made sure I got through a couple things that I wanted to ahead of the stream to make sure that I was able to like get everything I wanted done. But I do still need to set aside the time to like make sure I'm kind of accomplishing everything that I want to have done for today. It's just like I have a meeting for tomorrow, and it'd be nice if I can be sort of like fully prepared. You know, if I can spend my morning at work like on just normal stuff, not having to like really, you know, knuckle down, or that makes me happier. Okay. So overall, like I hope I've kind of given an indication of kind of what the game is like. So you've got the factory level and a little Tetris game in terms of the things that you want to build, and that feeds into the city level, where you use all of your sort of refined resources to be able to build more complicated and more expensive buildings. There will be periodic attacks. Sorry, I'm gonna have to pause because we're at 100 influence. Should probably just make some decisions on things that I want to take out. So, are there any good? Well, this is good for raw resources. That's good for artifacts. Let's start by taking the resources. Yeah, that's 100 100 influence dealt with. That was easy. But yeah, so basically, you start with the individual factories, you start with the individual headquarters. You use that to build yourself up to a point where you are able to build more complicated buildings and more complicated tools, namely your warships, because your warships are not just going to defend you. You can also build turrets for that, but you will be able to move out and attack the rebel headquarters. Now, we talked about how rebel attacks still come even if after you've taken out the enemy headquarters. But the reason why you'd want to take out some rebel headquarters, in addition to just sometimes you'll get contracts. I don't believe we'll see what the next tier is after 19 hours in game. But and this does answer the question. So it looks like clearing out resource patches, regardless of your income. It does seem like it's counting the resource patches that I've mined out, so I think it'll make some sense to claim these at some point. In any case, your influence cap goes up by destroying enemy or rebel headquarters. So I can't remember how much it goes up by. I think it's like 10. I should probably double check that, but anyways, it's a way that you can store more. And this is going to be helpful when I start expanding to things like this ruin monument. So the ruin monument costs 64 energy and an employee. It increases the maximum influence by 100. So that's a good start anyway. So that's 200 influence cap that I get. And then it also grants 5 influence per minute. Right now I'm gaining 5.2 influence per minute. So not only do I have the rate goes up by the rate at which I acquire it goes up is doubled, but I'm also able to store twice as much of it. So just generally, I'm able to get a lot more done. You'll notice that there have been some periods of waiting. Now, that has a little bit more to do with my play style than it being necessary in terms of Industries of Titan. But in terms of the overall plan, like what I've kind of got here is a big I've got this nice big store of energy, and that's basically going to enable is, there is one screw up that I have here, which is I built this energy pylon, I built this energy pylon when I was going to expand my transport hub here, so I may need to think about that placement. But I'm gonna have to. There's quite a bit of thinking I'm gonna have to do about that, because that's also covering my energy plant here. I'm either going to have to put it on the artifact patch or right beside here, but then it may not reach the smokestack. Anyways, that's something for me to deal with later. But essentially, what this energy is going to enable, I'm going to start expanding out my territory, and eventually I'm going to build a mine and a factory for isotopes and a mine and a factory for mineral nodes. Now that's going to require some more employees than I currently have. That's going to require a few other things, but essentially And it's also important to remember that I don't actually need I don't necessarily need those resources right away. Like I can pick them up off the ground, but what I do need is maybe the capacity to be able to process all of those resources. So generally what I like doing is I like building a mine close to whatever node while still making it accessible from the road. So for instance, I wouldn't necessarily want to build mines, here or here, but I might want to build a mine here, for instance. And then I can build a factory beside it. I probably wouldn't build it here because that would take out a ruin, but maybe something here or here. But essentially, I just wind up building these factories which are dedicated to sort of refining isotopes and dedicated to refining minerals. I link them up to sort of a highway so that the trucks can kind of go wherever they're needed. And then from there, I build out more residential buildings and more commercial buildings to just kind of keep the credits and minerals and isotopes going up. Now, just as a reminder in terms of our goals, so 24,000 credits, that's going to be a lot more credible to achieve with a lot more workers. So it's just as well that there is the landlord goal. So it wants me to own 4 residential buildings. The eventual plan here is going to be to spend 2,000 credits minimum for residential and office buildings here. And what I'll do, because it wants me to build 4, what I'll probably do is double up so it's 2 residential can employ a full office. So 2 residential buildings doubled up, and then the 1 office, and basically build 2 sets of that. So a total of 6 doubled up buildings. And that should get me to the tier 2. Now, I will still need to build an air purifier, but that's fine. I can build that sort of at my discretion. I'm going to need to think a little bit about where I put this stuff. It wouldn't necessarily hurt to like replace Cadence's hovel, but I don't know. I'm sure there are some better places that we can put things. Maybe this will be like the residential area up here. But that's going to be the main thing. So probably moving towards, I'm actually debating as to whether or not I want to move towards something where I'm employing more, where I'm bringing in more citizens, or bringing in a higher number of minerals and isotopes. The citizens is slightly tempting just because I get influence for it. But I suspect the way I'm going to do that is by building a mine here, mining out all these mineral patches. Mind you, with 9 idle employees, maybe it just makes as much sense for me to clear it out the old-fashioned way. All of these things, though, are going to be things that I can consider for a future playthrough. So I hope you enjoyed it. I noticed the number of questions sort of fell off by the end. Oh, sorry, we're not in June. And that it might be people kind of gave up on my explanations, because I do know I went quiet during parts of that and maybe let the characters talk a little bit more. But yeah, I will be playing this next week. So if you have any questions about Industries of Titan that weren't answered or things that weren't clear, I'll do my best to cover them in a future episode. Now, I need a second here to find someone to host. And there's probably going to be like 100 YouTube videos that start loading.
The characters.
Okay, so as is tradition, we will take a minute here and see who's streaming Industries of Titan. Just me. All right. Okay, nobody's streaming Phantom Brigade either. Well, Kilgore Trout is currently streaming Elder Scrolls Daggerfall Unity. So I didn't do the Unity version of it. Actually, it looks like it looks like the Unity version is now kind of anointed by GOG. I believe that is a version that you'll be able to get directly from the game. But yeah, or that you'll be able to get directly from that storefront. But yeah, plans for the week. So I will be back Friday. I think I said I was going to do Out There. I'm happy to do Out There. If there's something else, let me know. If you are just here for Industries of Titan, that will be a week from now. And Monday is Old World Monday. We will be going to the Carthaginian campaign, Oxhide. So I've kind of given up on Babylonia for now, and we'll go back to some basics on that game. And as always, if I get a chance, I will try and do other broadcasts when they come up. But I've honestly been really, really busy, and I'm trying to get back on those. One other thing I forgot to mention, and probably this will be a discussion for another time, I do have a birthday coming up next Friday, and the intention was to try and do, like, birthday streams always strike me as a little bit weird. I think they're just kind of this like implicit way of guilting people into like subbing or gifting or something like that. But I wanted to try and do something special because it's just an easy way for me to take the day off work. So I was thinking of doing some like readings or special games or that. So if there's something you'd like to see, just mention it, either Twitter or online or whatever. But I got to host Kilgore now, so have a good night. See ya.